West, y'all.
Joseph, man, thanks for coming on the Back Over 5 podcast, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for the kind message. I was going, hey, Sally, for real?
No, I was meaning to get you on here to have a chat because
Yeah.
I first saw you on Will's podcast, and then you had a blog. I saw I went to your Facebook blog.
Yeah.
Started reading it. And it's like
My random ass thoughts.
But that's cool, man. Like, you know, someone said to just write down the random thoughts.
Yeah.
But for you, it's not like a journal or anything. It's for everyone to see, or
Yeah.
everyone that follows you in that. So, no, I think it's a good thing to write down anyone's thoughts, like especially your own people's thoughts, because there's a lot to figure out, especially how to that word navigate in this world. And
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta like write it down so you can understand
Yeah.
how things work. You know.
I think for me too, I'm not a fan of this whole idea where they say, if you want to gain traction, talk about one thing and one thing only. But I'm like, there's so many flavors to a human being.
Mm.
And if I'm just going to talk about the color blue, and then 400 other people talk about the color blue, I'm going to fade into the background. So there's so much to the human experience.
Yeah.
You know, that's just my take on it. And I get sometimes my brothers will message me and go, Sully, you're talking too many different things. Can you just focus? And I'm like, I'm a human being.
Yeah,
You're thinking the same random thoughts. Obviously,
Yeah.
you choose to filter yours. But I guess I want to speak to those people who have a lot of stuff going on in their head. You know, we have busy minds, and some of us are like, how do I put that into words? And then I come across my blog and I get messages, bro, you're so out of it. So man, you're thinking about shoes, and then you're talking about politics, and then you're talking about something else, and then like you're hitting a lot of the stuff that they're thinking about.
Yeah.
But the whole social media world, they do one thing and one thing only. I'm like,
Well, I believe when it comes to social media, you know, you can use it for good or you can use it for evil.
yeah,
You know, and I think when the thing that you're doing on social media, I think it's doing good because people can relate to stories, you know, and people can get into it and, you know, say, oh man, this guy's feeling what I'm feeling. Well, that's why this guy's thinking what I'm thinking. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
You never know.
yeah,
You know, it's like when we do this podcast, like it's out there. We don't know who's listening.
that's right.
But if it touches someone or connects to someone, like we won't even know. You know, but it's cool because we've been doing this for so long. It's like sometimes you get the roundabouts, like it comes around.
Yeah,
And someone says, "Oh, listen to your podcast," and I'm like thinking, "You're the last person that I thought they'll listen to something." You know,
yeah,
that kind of thing. Like it's good when that happens
yeah,
because it gives you like some kind of, oh, someone is listening.
yeah,
But even though it's not on your mind to hope everyone's listening,
yeah.
that kind of stuff, eh?
It's
But I think for you, like, you writing down all your thoughts, because you got heaps of things going on in your head. Like,
yeah,
I listen to your podcast and, like, there's heaps going on in there. Like, you could have, like, an hour for each of those topics. And I think there's, like, 100 topics in there, sort of thing. But I think it's good for you to write things down. I mean, it's really good. And for you to write things down to sort out your thoughts, sort out what's going on in your head, sort out how we live in life, being survivors, and that, like it's really good. It's really good.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, it's there was I don't know if Brian Sangala, the master of all MCs. He said to me about good 20 odd years ago. He said, you know, regardless of what you're saying, you're always performing to an audience of one.
What does that mean?
So if you are putting out a message, have it in your mindset that your target is for that one person who's going to have a takeaway that would, in hindsight, transform their life from that. But if you're pandering to an entire crowd, if you wanted to speak to hundreds of different people, but if you can't connect with one, then you sort of miss the point because you're generalizing an experience. So when MCs will probably relate to this, when you're on stage, we're always pinpointing the one or two who's actually vibing with us. And those are the ones we connect with because now they're having an experience. So hence, you know, if there's nobody there and there's just one person in the crowd, there's your one audience. If nobody's in the crowd, the audience is you. So you're going to learn something.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what we were just talking about there.
Yeah.
Like,
In a roundabout way.
in a roundabout way, yeah. Like What I was thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking about the difference between podcasting and radio. Like radio is for the general audience.
It is. Yeah, it's a general niche.
General niche, yeah.
Man, was it so
Well, it's not specific, eh? So when you think of my FM, it's R&B hip hop, but there's a broad spectrum of R&B hip hop.
we can peel the layers back and go even deeper into what those different stations are. New FM initially was about giving Pasifika people a voice. That's what it was. Just New FM at the time in Brown Street, and it was about bringing Pasifika content to the forefront. And one of the leading artists back then were Eddie's. You know, they were pumping out hard at the time. There was Dr. Fessel Collins on Sundays. There was Selalo. You know, he came up with a "you really poo stinky" kind of slang on New FM, and then it evolved. So it went from Pasifika in general, and then it became a young adult radio station. Then it branched off into Niue, Tuvalu, Cook Island, Samoa. And now then the conversation started to kind of move in a different direction, and then 531 PI, and then they all merged, and they became PMN. Now New FM is more generalized towards a young Pasifika crowd. So I listen to it now, and I'm like, I'm not resonating with a lot of this stuff. And that's just the evolution of, you know what I mean by peeling it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't listen to any of them.
Neither do I. It's radio for me, broadcasting for me used to be about, for me, listening to Pasifika radio was listening to our people having intelligent conversations, and it wasn't just jokes and laughs, and now it's kind of really pandered towards it. You know, it's just jokes, but that's okay. You know, I have News Talk Back ZB if I want to.
Yeah.
Even though it's more of a Palangi audience. But yeah, it's a different scene now compared to what it was. And
I'm an avid listener to 1ZB, especially not so much in the morning because I can't stand Mike Hoskins, but I will listen to him because I want to know what the other side thinks. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point of view. Like, he's your rich, privileged white man. You can't stand, but you know the things he says. You just want to. I'm just interested in how they think.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that means more to me than just ignoring it because they're assholes, you know? Like, and then I listen to, I actually listen to Heather coming back home.
Heather's not bad.
Yeah, she's funny. You know, she has her moments, but.
Duplessis.
Yeah, she has her moments, but she's funny. But I do it because I want to get to know what's on at the news because I don't have time to come home and watch the news. I'd rather come home and watch HBO on Netflix or something like that. But
what I've learned lately is, depending on the lens that we're looking through, that'll set our way of seeing a certain perspective. So Mike Hosking, you look, and I agree, you know, he comes across as a pretty arrogant guy. I've had a few chats with him on radio, and he thinks a bit of I'm an idiot.
Did you ring up? Or?
Yeah. I used to ring up at like 4:00 on the afternoon when he would be covering a show, and I'll just think, Mike, I think you're an idiot. And he goes, oh,
do you remember what he said?
He goes, oh, to you again with your Pacific Island view.
Do you remember what it was? They got you hyped to ring him?
It was talking about the guys who were standing at the lights, cleaning windows and the busking, and I was trying to bring it across to him. There's actually a lot more to that, Mike, than what you're saying. But in reflecting upon that, there's actually some truth to what he says, but because we see the white guy, we don't want to see it. And it's not just a white guy, we see a white rich guy, and we're going, he doesn't know anything. But then I've had to go through the stage of, hang on a minute, listen to some of the things that he says, and hear the Duplessis, some of the stuff that she says, and they have one common thing that I know a lot of us Pasifika people are probably low-key envious about. Those guys will speak their mind regardless of consequence. Whereas we, us Pasifika people, we say something, you've embarrassed the family, you know, for shame. And it silences us. But like, we need freedom of thought, freedom of opinion. And that's why we have so many young men and women growing up. You know, it's like, tell us what you think. Oh, it's all good.
I didn't think of it that way. That's good perspective when you talk about 1CB, because I didn't think of it that way. Like, you're right. In fact, you know, they are saying what they want to say.
Yeah.
You know, and to me, it's like there's a reason why Mark Hoskins is number one in New Zealand, because he's saying what he wants to say, but majority of New Zealanders agree with him.
Yeah.
You know,
And his work ethic is insane. You know, so that guy will be up at 3-4 in the morning. He's sitting in the gym. He's getting his house in order. He's thinking about what he's going to wear. He's in the broadcasting background. You know, he's not even on video, and the guy's checking his hair, and he still looks terrible. You know, but he has a background that he's wealthy for a reason. Heather Duplessis is successful for a reason. It's because they have habits that many of us don't want to do, but we want the gold nuggets. We want the same money as Mike and Heather, but we don't want to do the same work.
Yeah, because that's another thing why they're successful. Because when it comes to radio, you need a personality, and they have personality. You know, you can't differentiate them with anyone else that's on the radio. And certain people that on the radio that have that radio personality, you know, and like I looked into it when I was first starting the podcast up with me and my friend Isaiah, like figuring out what is it with radio people and people on the podcast, you know, and I figured it's like energy. It's the energy.
Always,
it's the way you speak and how clear you are, but it's also your personality. Your personality has to come through. You can't fake anything. Yeah. But your personality needs to have energy too, and energy is a big one. Like if you're just monotone on the podcast, it's like boring. No one will, like, turn it off, man. Like, but if you're like, you know, loud, and if your volume's up and down, and just have a little bit of energy. Like, I was starting to figure this stuff out, you know, and what makes radio people, because I heard that, you know, if radio people do a podcast the way they want to do it, you know, it'll be they already got the battle, you know, of how to make it successful, or make it using their personalities to get through to people, you know.
I think that's the case. I think that's what have I learned from radio? The difference between radio and podcast, the key difference is podcasting. You're not scripting, you know, you're not scripting ad breaks. You're not preparing, you know, your lead in, your lead out. You're not looking at the clock and you're looking at the camera going, okay, I've got 9 seconds to get this line out of the way. And everything is so timely. You know, you're on the air, like it's 88.6, it's Jay hanging out through 2 o'clock, 4 in the afternoon. Coming up next, it's Usher. You're rushing content. And so I agree with you that they have kind of half of the stuff down packed. But I think where I've noticed, I did listen to Mike Hosking on a podcast, and I found he found it very difficult to have a relaxed, open conversation because he's not just Mike Hosking. He's News Talk ZB. He's a personality, and so switching from one uniform to another, and I think this is the beauty of podcasters like yourself, Uso, is you have that freedom, that flexibility to just say stuff and you'll be okay. I mean, I think we're coming out of that phase now where everyone's offended by everything. It seems to have kind of panned, which is good.
No, that's good. Yeah, because I was never afraid to say stuff. I don't, you know, like
cancel culture.
I was never afraid of that because, one, you know, we're not that popular, sort of thing. Like, you know, no one's gonna.
I wouldn't care, bro, if I was a huge thing. You know, I bring it back to what I said earlier: is there's so many layers to the human experience. And if you're just gonna be, you know, pander to just one certain type of audience, I have family who are in the spotlight, and I talk to them and I ask them, bro, so what's really going on behind the scenes? And okay, gee, they're just blasting it. They're overthinking it. They're making it sound like it's worse than what it already is, and they demonize it because us human beings have this horrible habit of we love pain. We love bad stories. We love a good horror and gossip format, and so I'm losing my trail of thought now. But yeah, I've found certain radio broadcasters, they struggle to get into podcasting because they're so structured. Yeah, you know, and you try to go, so what do you think about this, and what are your thoughts about that, and you see them go.
But they don't know how to piggy bank of a conversation. Like, I think conversation is all about piggy banking all the time. Yeah, like you say something, I'll piggy bank off that. Then I say something, then I hopefully the guest piggy banks off what I say. Yeah, because and then it just goes somewhere you never even planned to go. You know, it might go somewhere like right now. Well, we've done it 16 minutes. I didn't know we were going to talk about this. Like, you know, like, but I love it, man. I love it. And there was a time I had a guy named Dominic. He's on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came on, and man, we had this half an hour chat about random stuff. Like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, we ended up talking about Japanese sushi in Japan for some reason. And then I looked at the thing and it wasn't even the record button wasn't on. You know, like, oh no. But I was like gold, man. Like, that conversation was gold. Half an hour.
Yeah.
But
That's what I mean. Our existence has so many layers. You know, rather than, do you want to talk to Dominic about acting in Shortland Street and acting? Bro, I'm pretty sure the guy loves a good jam on the PlayStation. Loves a good feed and has a few thoughts on things but everything's so structured in that world. The acting world is crazy, bro. Seriously.
Have you been in it?
I've done quite a bit of extra work, and just everything is structured. I liken it to radio. Okay, you have to be here on this time. You are to be costumed. If you're going to go out, you have to have this on you. You cannot go posting this. You cannot go talking about it. You can't say this in this format. Everything is structured, and you're in a completely different world. So you walk into. We did Lord of the Rings.
You're in there.
The most recent TV series.
Oh, the one up at the Hobbit.
Yeah, it was filmed in Kimu. And so you got there, it was pitch black. You left there, it was pitch black. And you're in a studio, you think it's still daylight outside, not realizing it's artificial light that's beaming through. And then you come outside and it's, sorry, where did the sun go? And it's very similar, like you're going from a structured, formulated world and you come into a space like podcasting. It's so much more human. You can just be yourself.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think we all had the ex-guy of The Edge come do his own podcast. He left radio. Yeah. I forgot his name. He's a Palangi dude. And he started his own podcast. And he was talking to Will about struggling to get in the podcast scene because he's not used to just having a conversation rather than asking questions, like structured and all that kind of stuff.
Does he have a podcast on Spotify right now?
Yeah.
Are you mental? That brother? Mickey?
I
can't remember his name. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's Mickey. He's amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
He's having some real tough conversations on his podcast that I think are massive. It's like, shop, bro.
Yeah.
Just say it as it is with mental health rather than kind of tiptoeing around it. I think it's Mickey. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hi, Mickey.
Yeah. Now, it was an interesting podcast I had with Will. Like, I was praising him for his work around podcasting and that because I'm a big fan of podcasts and stuff. And like around the mental health kind of stuff, like he was talking about how, conversations are probably the number one effective ways to handle or to take care of mental health. Yeah. Because it's people to people, right? Yeah. People have to talk to people, right? That's a human thing to be around other humans and communicate. Yeah. And if you're alone and depressed, you probably need someone to talk to. Obviously, that's what's happening. Yeah, and that was what people talk about. And what Will was saying, it makes sense for him to champion podcasting because that is the way forward to help people or to get people to talk about this stuff and talk to someone about something. And it's not being forced when you come onto a podcast and sit down and talk into a mic, talk to someone. But the power of that is that, like, I don't know if I could, like, we talked about this before. I don't know if I could ring up any of my guests and just say, "Oh, do you want to go meet at the cafe, have a coffee, and talk?" Like, "Hey, who are you? I don't know you." Like, but you want to come to my house, sit down on the mic, do a podcast? "Oh yeah, sure, bro, I'll come." It's a different. Yeah. The context. Yeah. The power of broadcasting, I guess. Or knowing that you're gonna have a conversation on the mic that other people can listen to. Yeah. Or is it you're gonna have something that's recorded in digital and be there forever? Yeah.
I think that's a touch point that you're kind of getting to is when you're in that space, especially podcasting, is you're not just communicating with people, you're building a space to connect with them, and that's a big in mental health as well. In fact, there's a great book that talks about that called Many Communicate, Few Connect by John C. Maxwell. Highly recommend it. And it talks about that, when you're in those type of spaces.
So communicate, but what?
So many communicate,
Many communicate,
few connect.
few connect.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the difference. But so when you listen to someone on, a broadcaster will communicate what they're told to communicate. But when you get them into a space like this, brother, where it's intimate, they're not just communicating to the audience that's been designed by the radio station. They're in a place where they can engage, and now, as themselves, connect with their community, the listeners on a different level.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's pretty powerful, eh? Yeah.
yeah. I just learned that 2 months ago from reading a book.
He was one of the guys you mentioned on the podcast I listened to today.
Love John C. Maxwell.
And the other guy,
Les Brown.
Les Brown. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's back to you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Motivational speaker.
Yeah.
I looked him up. After
Yeah.
I heard his name. Like, I had to
Yeah.
rewind because I didn't catch his name.
Yeah.
Typed it in.
They're amazing gentlemen. They're big role models for me at the moment.
Yeah. How'd you get to know them? How'd you find them?
I came across John C. Maxwell in 2001. I was at La Salle at the time, and I went to the what do you call it, reception area, and there was a book that a guy named Martin was reading. He was the receptionist guy, and I was like, "What are you reading?" He goes, something Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell.
Laws of Leadership.
Yeah, something to do about the laws of leadership. I said, "Oh, cool. Can I have a read?" And he said, "No." So I went to the library and I was like, "So, Mr. Shirley, can I please look for this book here?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, sure." And that was it. From that, I didn't really read John a lot after that, but that was the initial seed that many years then into my adult life, I would come back to John C. Maxwell and then come into Les Brown.
So what was the one of the biggest lessons you got out of that book? Or one stuff he talks about? The laws of what was it? The laws of leadership.
I think it's the irrefutable laws of leadership. The touch points in that book is echoed, some 20 years later in the book that he's recently released called, well, not recently, that many communicate, few connect. And it's really to do with making an effort to resonate with the people that you're talking to, whether it's on a personal level, if you're a motivational speaker, being able to take the time to tell yourself, all right, so who am I talking to? What are they about? What do they want to hear? And what value can you add to that conversation? Because now you're connecting on something that they're very, very touchy on, or something that's unique to them and they resonate with. So the biggest thing that I'm learning about leadership is that you are going to be the one who's going to have the biggest broom, and you're the one who's going to be doing the longest hours. You're going to be you're going to be living a life of constant sacrifice. And that is because in order for you to sustain your longevity as a leader and success, you have to make sure that the people that you're building around you are strong enough so that when you walk away, you can always come back and everything's fine.
Right.
Or they're self-sustained. But yeah, those are the key things that are echoed throughout a lot of his books. And I summarize it down to just one thing, that's always add value. Add value to anything that you're doing. So I messaged you earlier. I was like, man, I really want to make sure that what I bring to the podcast, that there are some takeaways for our listeners.
No, there will always be takeaways. No, that's pretty cool, because when I think of what you just said about leadership, it's an interesting sort of thing to go down the rabbit hole with. Get deep into, because when you're talking about a leader that has a vision, and you need people to help that vision go along, you want to get, it's like a test day to get to the point where you can leave for leave for a year, come back, and it's still stable, because the people below you know the vision, know what they're doing, they're still going up, and that's hard to do. That's pretty hard to do, unless
and it's why only a few can kind of handle it, because that's a lot of people think leadership is about telling people what to do. Complete opposite. Leadership is about serving your people. And I used to think that, these guys are arrogant and rich. And then I got to sit down with a multimillionaire, and I got to hear not just from him, but from other people, the stuff that he'd been doing in the background that these guys don't brag about what they do. They do charitable acts that are not on the books. They're paying for rent, they're buying a car, They're paying for visa applications. They're putting down money to get people out on bail and people who don't have lawyers. And they're donating this money with nothing in return. And that's the aspect of a millionaire leader that you don't hear about. But they're constantly serving people in the background because they don't sleep at night. For the whole point is to make sure that everyone gets to come to work and get paid. Yeah, big service. That's an aspect of leadership we don't talk about. Is actually it's quite a hard life. Yeah,
and it's probably something someone else talked about this too on the podcast. I think many conversations I know the ideas, but I can't put the mouth to the idea. But the same conversation, it was about leadership and how how you talked about how it's all about service.
Yeah.
What better people to know about service is the Pacificanders or Samoans,
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the attributes for leadership that we've got it down pat.
Yeah.
But, it tells me that we could break through and be a good leader. Or
we definitely can break through, but there's an aspect to leadership that we tend to miss. And I had a
and what's that?
I had a Zoom meeting today with a mentor that's working with me via Pacific Business Trust, and they talk about the vision that I had is the same with theirs. It's about adding value to our people in many areas as possible, but at the same time you have to make sure that you're adding value to yourself. So as Pacifica people, we love to serve so much we start serving people out of nothing. And by nothing I mean is that we're giving out of lack. And so by giving out of lack, we're putting ourselves worse off, and then we then start buying into the cycle of, you're in debt, you're always struggling, because there's this false idea of what serving means. In Samoan, there's a saying, what do they say? Bro, probably can remind me on this. The pathway to leadership is through service. But what does that mean?
I mean a lot if you want to go get a title or
in
the village and stuff.
Yeah, but see, even now with my own family, there's a Matai situation that I'm kind of looking at. And I'm going, actually, I think I'm interested in this now. But there's an element of a Matai, a leader that we as Pacifica people are not taking on board, is that we're too busy looking after everybody else. We're not making sure that we ourselves are sustainable. Because as leaders, we need to have longevity. And
it's all around if you don't look after yourself, how can you look after the people around you or the people you love?
Yeah, and it comes down to telling people that, hey, you know what? I appreciate that you want me to do this for you, but the answer is no. Because and our people need to get comfortable with it.
But that's some of the Western world coming in.
Yeah, so like being able to say no. It's you look back at our ancestors. If the villagers didn't have enough food to go around, the Matais would say, "You've got 5 tara to feed your family. You're asking for another 2. No, we're missing that now because our leaders are just doing, and my poor mum went through that phase. Everyone wanted this. And because so many people throughout our culture get given what they want because they cry and they moan and they complain and they badmouth the Matai and the family, that family out of fear of shame will go and serve that family and give them what they want. Now you've generated something new now. There's, if you're gonna give a rat a piece of cheese, it's gonna come back and want more. And so how I round that back as us Pacifica people, and I know some going to be listening and going, bro, you sound so white. I don't care. This is a value that we all need to understand, is that if our kids are not eating, if we don't have enough hours at work, then we need to be able to say no to those mea alofas at church. We need to say no to, serving 5 times a week in church. We need to be at home if our kids are playing up, be present and stuff like that. Say no. And that's okay, because that's a leadership quality. Is right now we don't have the capacity. The answer is no. Find somebody else and be totally okay with that. And I see that missing with a lot of our people also. We get the money, we give it away. But we're not investing. We don't want to do the hard work. We're happy to work for a millionaire and complain about the millionaire, but we won't go and do the work that the millionaire does. The habits that we're required. And I'm preaching to myself now. Stop sleeping in. Stop spending time on your phone. But we spend like 40 hours, 36 hours a week on our phones. It's a working week. So re-diverting that focus back into how can we use those hours to look after ourselves. Because if you make it, everyone else makes it. And if you see a lot of our successful business people in Pacifica, you only need to look at Dwayne Johnson also. He's a prime example. Even though his family grew up in the wrestling business, they weren't loaded. That shifted when Dwayne started saying no to a whole lot of stuff. And he got real sharp on, where he said, I'll say no to you now, but when I'm set, I'll come back and, serve your yes. And now you have a whole lot of people in Pacifica that we don't hear about, that are having full-time jobs, getting sponsored by Dwayne, and we don't hear about it. And that's because he's had the ability to say no. No doesn't mean no forever. It just means right now it's a no. But yeah, that's a long-winded answer about leadership. I think that's missing for our Pacifica people. Challenging too.
I think what you're talking about is leadership through the eyes of the Western world. How the Palangis do it. Like there's a clash of cultures there. With our Pacific Island culture service and what happens in the islands. Come over to here in New Zealand, try to integrate with the Western world. The clash is there because, and it's everywhere. You see, it's the way the Palangis treat their families. Yeah, it's the way we treat our families and our extended families. Our extended family is pretty much our immediate family. Yeah, Palangis don't do that. They look after themselves. They look out. And once you're 18, see you later. Go fend for yourself.
Different classy.
And it's like, but it's all that to me, the Palangis, they don't have the rule where you don't answer back to your elders. If they got the idea, they'll say it, no matter how old, and it's like, that's a big clash there. So it's like they're going against, because there's always that thing about, because, in my industry, like I had, we go through every year, every 3 years, whatever it is, the site save course, right? Yeah. So we have to do a course in.
Yeah, poor you.
And we get these.
Yeah, I hear you.
We get a question on Pacific Islanders and working on site. Yeah. And the conversation is around how do you, because the Palangis don't know that the islanders on site, especially the young ones, they look down. They don't want to tell the boss or tell the foreman something's wrong on site because they don't know talk to their elders or talk to the boss. They're shy. They don't speak up. Yeah. But you need to speak up because it's health and safety.
Where does it come from though? The inability to speak, where does it stem from?
I think it's just our culture, right? It's just ingrained in us to not answer back.
I think so. One of the pain points of our people around, I grew up with that, Mum would always say, keep quiet. What I tell you is law, don't answer back.
That's normal, right?
That's not the Samoan way. If we look further back, we find that mindset came through the missionaries.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Your young women and young men have opinions. They're having conversations with you about how to improve. Now, they're kids. They don't have a place at the table. They're children. Tell them to shut up. They don't answer back. And you travel back in time and you'll find that a lot of the British colony and the systems back there, if you go to jail for as young as 12 years old, they would off your hands. We say Islam is bad for the decapitating of arms and limbs and stuff like that. The British did it, some 1,000 years ago.
They probably taught them how to do it.
Well, it was real draconian. So it's a real archaic time where it came to our people, and our people were like, no, everyone in the village has a job. And these young children are going to grow up and they're going to be the future kula fale and the future makai. And if we silence them and not give them a voice, how are they going to lead our people when they get older? And now so that's now so heavily ingrained that we're now saying, it's our culture. And I used to always debate my mum about this, especially my dad. He would say, don't answer back. If I tell you something right or wrong, honor thy mother and father for you to have a longer life on earth. And I would bite back straight away, and it says, yeah, Dad, but if you read the very next verse, it says, fathers, do not exasperate your children. It means don't drive your kids crazy. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And if your child corrects you in the wrong that you are doing, then as a father or a parent or a mother, have the humility to go, oh, actually, no, you are right. This is wrong. Because these are values you're instilling in our children.
Would there be interpretation though?
Eh?
Would there be interpretation though? That little part of in the Bible? Like, well, the missionaries, if the missionaries are teaching them, like they wouldn't like get into the detail of it. They'll just say, okay, this means you're gonna do this, and that's it.
Yeah,
interpretation is gone.
It's a lot of the. It was like a template system that they were taking to indigenous places, and it was a law that only the leaders spoke, everyone else kept quiet. That was a very British way of doing things. You know, if you didn't have the right stripes on your shoulders, you didn't have enough, on your pads, then you couldn't speak. You had to earn that right. And a young person that would speak up would get beaten with a rod. They.
Like the Catholics.
Beat the child and spare the rod. What a lot of us don't realize is that particular scripture was an addition added into the Bible by the British people. It wasn't actually in there originally, and there's so many. Oh gosh, I'm making some people go, "Whoa, what did he just say?"
So are you saying like our Pacific Islanders, our proclivity to don't talk to elders is because of the missionaries? Like,
it was a missionary thing.
But if the missionaries taught us this, right? It was not part of their own rules, right?
It came from the Catholic Church.
But it's not part of their rules, right?
Yeah, it is. So we have to be specific now. We're talking about the early missionaries.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the ones who are out there now. The
early ones, the ones that first came to the
islands. So they brought on that rule of thumb.
But they didn't practice it?
What do you mean by they didn't?
They didn't practice that rule that...
Our people weren't doing that also.
I mean, the Palangis, the missionaries, they never practiced their own rule they taught us?
I would say there's some grey area where they didn't. Some of those...
Because that's racist then.
Some of those missionaries were alcoholics. Some of those missionaries had sexual tendencies that should have been dealt with. But we don't talk about that stuff.
Sounds like Catholics.
It's common among so many. Sorry, bro, I'm a bit of a nerd. I deep dive into this stuff quite often, and I always say this comment to a lot of our elderly Samoan people when they say, "Well, in Samoa, this is how we do things." And I go, "Okay, cool, that's fine. Which version of Samoa are you coming from?" Now,
before missionaries or after missionaries?
Yeah, or yeah, that's a good example. So, an even more simple example is, okilo uru. You look embarrassing as a Samoan. Samoans don't have long hair. That came with the missionaries, and it was a mark of the British colony that if they had conquered a place, they would cut people's hair.
Right.
And so that happened in Japan. That happened in China. They did it in Germany. They did it in Spain. Right through to Pacifica, they did it to the Aboriginals. That's what they used to do, is shave their head. That was a mark of, we've been here.
I believe that. Do you know why I believe that? Because when I was a kid, my sister got in trouble. My mom cut her hair.
Yeah, it's a
punishment.
My poor sister went through that a few times. Poor girl.
But that's where that comes from, huh? Like
a lot of those traditional stuff that we think is true for Samoa. If you ask so many different villages, they have their own versions of what Samoa means. And I don't mean to disrespect them by any means. Whereas if you go to some villages in Samoa and you see some of our young 10-year-olds in Samoa, you hear them talk, you'd think they're a fully grown adult. Because the adults have allowed the child to ask the question. Say, can you explain to me what this means? Can you share what that means? Or I don't feel comfortable with this. And the parents will create, the matai, the dad would say, okay, son, the reason for this is because it leads to this. This word has to be pronounced in the right way. Otherwise, you change the meaning of the launga. Dad, so why do I have to always sit like this for?
Is this what's happening now?
It's happening now. There's still a lot of.
I wonder if it's a generational thing. Yeah.
It's beautiful to see that it's still being held onto, and I heard a father say to his son was saying, "Ki ngā wai so ngā ngofoli." And he goes, "That's because you're not stretching properly, son. It's good for you to sit to open up your hips, stretch out your back, and build your core. And that builds into a man. You have to have a spine, son." I'm going, that's fathership. That's fatherhood. That's leadership. Not the whole, it's like, how is a child supposed to have a voice? And we see that evidence in our Māori people who are 70, 80 and so forth. They grew up in a generation where they were banned from speaking to their Māori. And what that did was it robbed them of the ability to be able to think critically. So they've grown up, well, don't say anything because we might get beaten up. The stories of the Māori kids in Pukekohe who'd come to school clean and they line up and they get hosed down because Pākehā like Māori are dirty. Those narratives, the silencing of our children, they end up growing up to become what we see now as boys who don't know how to express themselves, so they rage. They turn to violence because this is easy. Get physical is easy. They don't know how to express their emotions. They don't know how to, there's that word again, navigate what's going on in my head, because we've been told, shh, that stuff is stupid. Use your head.
It's good that doing that now in the islands.
Yeah.
If that's what you're saying is true, because that's really, do you think it's a generational thing? Because when I think of my parents, because my dad was born 39.
Yeah.
So my parents came in the 60s.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that generation that do the whole shut your mouth.
Well, these two parts to that now. So right now I've sounded like the devil's advocate, from that. But these two elements to that. So then you understand the other side is our parents came here. The expression naso uso aso vale, uso aso uma, that came from our parents coming here. That's not actually a traditional Samoan saying. It was birthed through them immigrating here, and what they referenced was, you're Samoan, I'm a Samoan. I understand Samoan, you understand Samoan. We understand each other. What's your name? Oh, okay, Lucy Vale. Oh, you're from that family. And so what that meant, the essence of we band together as Samoans. Now, they then came into a world where they were told, hey, if you don't know English, oh, you're an immigrant, you're a coconut. There were literally commercials during the Dawn Raid where it showed Māori. You remember them?
Yeah.
Where the Māori kids and the Māori character and the Balinese character were punching the islander in the face and saying, immigrant coconut. And the Dawn Raids. And so if our parents came into a country that supported them, we would still hold on to those traditions here. So it's not their fault that they never... The ones in Samoa, it's easy for them because they're living there. The culture can be sustained because the whole experience is Samoa. But then our poor parents came here, and I really feel for them because I did that too. I beat them up, and I'm like, why didn't you beat them up verbally? Why didn't you teach me this stuff and so forth? That's because they grew up in a generation that said, you're a dumb coconut. You're only good for a factory job. And so obey your masters, your managers. And, people like my father for 20 years stuck on $5 an hour. So their voice was taken away. And so they knew, okay, the pathway to success is to get a job, get an education, get a good job, and then obey your masters. And then a lot of our young people then went to uni. Polynesian Panthers came around, created pathways. They went and got their degrees, couldn't get a good job, couldn't get into it because it was controlled in that space. And then all of a sudden you've got these things, people are leaning into gangs now because they're providing that security. Man, I'm going down so many different pathways now, Uzo. And so my whole mindset in sharing that is having an understanding of where does what come from. Why is it the way that it is? Because it's easy to demonize a certain perspective or a certain group of people if we don't understand the context of what they went through. My grandpa, Surumalo Tovi'o, would tell me the screams of his siblings dying from the flu. Did you know that New Zealanders were able to quarantine during the flu in Samoa?
Oh, were they?
They had quarantined areas, but
Oh.
our people
They just let them go.
our people never had anything written down. So how the flu spread so far in Samoa was, is as our Matai was passing away, they had to be surrounded by the kids who were learning everything off them, because everything is oral. They're in the presence of someone with the flu, the epidemic flu. Now they're getting sick. Now they're dying. Now the other ones are running around them and tell us the knowledge. And it spread and it spread and it spread. Meanwhile, you got the New Zealanders who are quarantined. And it's, those are the, and I talk about it in my podcast also, is those are the things that we really have to acknowledge, because it gives us a clearer picture of what it means to understand what does it mean to be Samoan. I mean, one of the most prolific leaders in Samoan history was a woman. We had a Samoan queen. Her name escapes me, but she was one of the best rulers in Samoa in all time. And the missionaries came along and said, no, a woman doesn't get to lead, which is ironic. So explain Queen Victoria. Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it was and then you wonder, like, was it really British mindset that came across here? Or was it a group of individuals that came with their own little...
Making it up as they go.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, their own agenda. And we look back at history and we kind of go, man, so many documents are drafted across the world by men who were like 14 to 20 years old with no education.
Man, it's out of it. It's out of it. Especially the New Zealand journey thing. Because our parents come from Samoa, right? They come here and they're forced to change whatever it is. And then it just comes on to their kids.
Yeah.
And now we're got some of that.
Programming.
We're programmed, eh?
We're programmed. It's.
But is it only the immigrants that go to Australia, New Zealand, America? Is it only them? But in Samoa stays pure, so to speak.
Man,
stays clean.
You get to Cook Islands, you find a lot of the culture still enriched in there. You go to Fiji, a lot of the culture is still enriched in there. But because Fiji is Fiji, that's what they do in Fiji. And Tuvalu, they do what Tuvalu do. When in Rome, do in Rome. When you're in Samoa, you do when you're in Samoa. That's why some things that go on in Samoa, us Kiwi born are going, what? What do you mean you just turn around in the car without indicating?
Oh yeah.
What do you mean you just give it a slight $10 to the police officer and it's all good?
Yeah.
What do you mean your shower is a hose that's sticking out of the wall? It's all those different things. And so when you come to a place that's completely foreign, when in Rome, do as you would in Rome. So our parents and their parents, they had no option also. They had to adapt. Very much like their ancestors who voyaged to Samoa and they adapted. Which means getting rid of some stuff to welcome on some new stuff. So unlearn, relearn, and then develop a new culture of what that means. And where the struggle happens, I find for me and my upbringing was that mum and dad were holding on to an old school version of Samoa. And then I'm this kid who's born and raised in New Zealand, taught a different culture, who then runs into different Samoans of another version of Samoa. And then I'm going, who am I? Oh, that's our little Kiwi baby. I'm like, oh, because I'm a Kiwi. Celia, you're a Samoan.
Yeah. I was thinking about sort of myself when I was hearing you talk about that on the podcast, like your identity, And I grew up the same way too, and I spoke about this before. My parents only spoke to each other in Samoan. They didn't speak to me and my sisters when we were growing up. We used to get in trouble a lot when we go to our aunties and uncles' house.
Yeah.
Because they'll speak Samoan and we didn't speak, and they'll tell us off and that, and they'll say, and then I remember my auntie say, you know what, you go home, tell mum and dad to talk Samoan to you.
Yeah.
You can't come here and don't know how to speak.
Yeah.
And I just get really embarrassed. I was young. And then, but that was just the way it is,
Yeah.
And I don't think the Samoan pride didn't come into me until later on in my life. But back when you're a kid, everything's just normal, right? You just go. But I remember asking my mum later on in life, like, how come you didn't talk to us in Samoan? And she told me, well, we came to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And you're going to New Zealand school, so we don't, we don't want to hold you back. Like, you gotta talk English. We're in an English.
There it is. Yeah.
English speaking country.
Yeah.
And you're doing well at school, and see, that's the reason.
And
you know,
now you've got jobs that need bilingual people.
yeah. Now it's all changed. Like society, diversity is here now, and like we need to get more surrounders and places now and learn the language and all that kind of stuff. But back then, no, I didn't really. All I knew when I was a kid was being embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I knew.
Kind of fire.
But then, when my mom told me what the reason, okay. But I still didn't. I still talk to us. You know, like I didn't care. I didn't figure. I don't. Then I think, okay. I didn't think it would have made a difference.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it should have. I don't know. But I don't know. When I look back, maybe would have helped better. Like I understood what they were thinking.
Yeah.
You know.
I think
but that's what happened to you, eh? Same sort of thing, eh?
Yeah. The benefits of bro, I never actually knew proper English until I went to primary school. The Samoan was the first language growing up. And as a kid I thought I was thinking along the lines of your mum and dad. What's the point of learning? We're in an English speaking country.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go to school and they're gonna talk Samoan to me. What worth is it? And my mum used to always drill into me. She goes, when I die you'll realise. And then when mum passed away, I found myself in situations where the mother tongue paid huge dividends. And it wasn't so much being able to communicate with our people. It actually sort of helps your brain a little bit. It kind of it's a science now. It's been proven that if you speak more than 1 to 2 languages, these are an advantage of your.
I think you're in genius mode. I think. Was it 3 languages? You're in genius mode.
Yeah. So I'm very thankful that mum and dad banned. They barred the English language. It wasn't until the grandkids came along and all of a sudden, son, how are you? I'm like, I love you, son. I'm like, well, okay, love your grandkids, but you won't say it to your own kids.
Yeah.
And so the situations where I'm thankful for is when I'm running into those traditional Samoans. And I had this experience. I was the security guard at TAB, and for 2 months I just didn't say anything. I was just like, yeah, sweet, all good. You're not allowed that, sir. And I had my pounamu on, and I've got my ponytail, my head in a bun, and these Samoans are saying all sorts to me in Samoan. They're running me down, and finally had enough of it. They were outside drinking, and I went outside. And I said, yeah, familiar ki oko. Yelo se mauli yelo. I'll be like, this is the end of it, and now I'm going to speak. And they're like, and there's a purpose for that, because our language and our customs are sacred. But when you pervert it like that, my mum raised me to not perverse our culture. It's tapu. Don't speak those filthy words. But you know what? The best beauty of it is that I can talk to our elders. It's beautiful. That's the gift that I would take from my mum, being able to learn the language, was that I can have conversations with our elderly people, because now I can tap into their wisdom. And when I talk to a lot of these elderlies, they'll tell me, yeah, new times comes with a different type of weather, and you have to adapt. And then you hear their stories of heroism. I'm pretty sure your mum and dad have got some stories, bro. And I'm here, I can hear them. I'm pretty sure I heard her speak Samoan. I'm like, Mum, I'd love to sit down and listen to you, and just, take in all of that history. Your parents' generation and my parents' generation was, man, when they pass away, we saw there's a massive museum's gone. And so I'm very blessed that Mum said, sorry, Mum. So it's a blessing, to be able to hold myself and I'm not super fluent in Samoa, but enough to be able to hold my ground. And the evidence of that was 2019 Mum's funeral. I'm walking through, helping them out, take the upper to people coming in, doing their mealofa, and I took this box of elengi. That elengi looked dodgy as, bro. It looked like it had 3 different wrapping labels on it. It was key. What are these guys up to? I'm going down, and they say, and they go, "Ui, kama ki wile re lo se mea." Turned around and answered in Samoan, and then they go, "Ui, if I bear it, ke ro ke ma malama I minga fa Samoan, I me nging wala ko kala." And I'm like, "Yeah, pa wa fuck wangalo ko mer ko inga fa sa fa parang fa." And so that type of experience, I look back and I go, "Man, shot, Mum. Thank you for the hidings." Now I understand. I wish I'd clicked when I was alive, when she was alive, you know. But it helped out. But it helped out in my professional world, working for businesses where I could interact with, you know, Samoan people, sometimes Tongan, being able to have that language thing. It brings down so many barriers. What's your Samoa? Yeah. Oh, you gotta fight. Yeah. So this is what's happening. You know, it brings down a barrier. But if you don't know how to speak the language fluently, that's okay. Doesn't make you any less of a Samoan. You're still Samoan. That's full stop. And I think, you know, go through life, you know, if you understand our culture, that to me, that's sufficient. And I heard Ilioka say something on Twitter. He said, if you don't know how to speak a Samoan language, how can you speak to your ancestors when you die? Okay, I don't think spirits only speak Samoan, but you know, it's a gift. Sorry, bro.
No man, we can go any lane you want.
I'll indicate next time before I make another topic change.
There's like LA. There's like 5 lanes, and we're heading towards.
Just ready for the turn off now.
But yeah, man, that's yeah. That's like where my trauma comes from. Just not speaking it when I was young. You know, just being embarrassed and stuff like that. Yeah.
Are you okay with it now?
Oh yeah, I'm okay with it now.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Sweet. Yeah.
I don't really care now. But it's funny because when I'm in Samoa, it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like, it just comes out. I think it's because it's around me.
Yeah. You're immersed in it, and it's muscle memory.
Muscle memory. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And because you're pretty sure, bro, you heard your mum and dad speak heaps around you when you grow up.
Yeah.
And
heaps of growlings. And
and then you go to different spaces where it's mainly English. So I had this issue when I was working in West Auckland, where they were starting to practice a lot of Te Reo Māori. And so I started speaking Te Reo Māori a whole lot more, that I was starting to forget how to speak my own mother tongue.
Right. But it's kind of similar.
Yeah. Mostly.
Kind of.
But then there are times where I'll go to say something Samoan and I'm going, oh, what's that word again? And I'm texting my brother, what's the word for? And he's coming back and he's going, Sully, you should know this. What do you mean? Why are you asking me something?
But you speak a lot of Māori because of your work?
Had to. Yeah. It was, you know, when it was a season with the Labour government where Te Ao Māori and Te Reo Māori was really being, and it still is being now. I mean, it's in a real tricky space now at the moment, but
you have the Treaty Waitangi and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But it was, you know, in a lot of organisations where if they needed to tap into certain funding, you had to have a Māori element. And so the organisation I was working for, they adapted a lot of kupu Māori and a lot of kaupapa Māori into the organisation. It actually started to blanket. It wove into almost everything that we did.
So the government's stopping funding on all that stuff, huh? They're not funding it anymore. And wasn't that the thing? When National got into power,
they dismantled the Māori Authority, which I honestly think is probably one of the most uneducated moves from a government and I understand where they're coming from. They're saying we need to look at everybody as a single population, and I kind of agree with that argument, because if we look at the benefit, for example, statistically, they're actually, if we look at New Zealand as a whole 5 to 6 million people, there are actually more NZ Europeans on the benefit than there are Pacifica. But when we go per population, that statistic flips. But
sorry, when was it more European? When is it more?
When you look at New Zealand as just as a single population, regardless of ethnic group and so forth, you will find that there are more NZ Europeans on the benefit. And that's where I agree with the government, much to my chagrin, is that if we look at it as just a one whole single population void of ethnic identity, you would see which groups are actually struggling. But there's a bit of a tricky space into that too, so it's because you got about 700,000 NZ Europeans on the benefit. And
700,000?
About 700,000,
wow.
Bro. That's a massive number. And so you have to ask yourself the honest question. Okay, we've got all these Pacifica and Māori support groups going on for our Indigenous people, but what about our, tangata tiriti, our Pākehā brothers and sisters? What support systems are they, reaching out to? And so can you imagine what it's like to be in that group of people, because they're the majority, there's not a lot of space that they can tap into because they're not Māori or they're not Pasifika. When in actuality, and this is something where I struggled with the NGO space, where I would read through the fine print and it would say, you know, the services are available to Māori and Pasifika, but not limited to, you know, Chinese, Europeans, Germans, other ethnic groups. But because if wherever the most of the pie comes from, you would, that's the narrative you're going to sing, is Māori, Pasifika, Pasifika. But I'm confident that the majority, if not all, contracts that are Te Ao Māori specific, it also caters to our European brothers, our Pākehā brothers and sisters. So that's where I agree with disbanding the Māori, or the Māori Authority, I think was a poor move, because...
So what do they do specifically?
So the
Māori...
the Māori Authority are a core group who specialise in understanding what Māori, how Māori are experiencing life here in Aotearoa.
So they do research and study and stats and...
Everything's academic. And so that Māori Authority then looks at two distinguished points of perspective. You have the NZ Pākehā point of view, which is one size fits all. And then you have a Indigenous point of view, which is actually one size fits all. But at the moment, the methods that apply specifically to Indigenous people that works for us, it won't be the same if we take that and transition it into Pākehā or vice versa.
Because you need some affirmative action?
It's because it's a different language.
Oh.
It's a completely different language.
But in terms of like trying to keep up to speed with, you know, with the levels of, you know, of society. Like you need to put a hand up to... Yeah.
I mean, you could have, you know, like I think of David Seymour, and I actually humbled myself and I actually agree with some of the stuff he's saying. Not in terms of the tiriti, but some of the aspects where he says you've got to fix the home first. If we're going to fix the rest of society, is fix the home. The problem with that, David Seymour, is it's so much more complex than just fixing the home, because our entire economy is decided by the government. We don't have a say in how much our tax should be. We don't have a say in how many road taxes or how high the GST should be and so forth. We have no power on controlling the rent or the market price of properties and so forth. And so to just say it's about, you know, about fixing home, but what does that mean? You know, I understand it on the uniform for all of us New Zealanders, but the Māori Authority take into account proven, tested systems that work for us also, what works for Māori and what works for Pasifika. So to take that away, you're basically saying your proven and tested methods that are both academic and science-based, we don't care. We're going to take our science because it's NZ science. And then what you're going to find is that we're now going to start ignoring a whole lot of issues that actually are quite unique to Pasifika people and Māori.
Because it is complicated.
It's so complex, bro.
It is complicated.
Yeah.
I don't have confidence that they will figure it out and for a fair answer for everybody to agree with. Because you just can't. That's why we have left and right.
There's too many people to please.
Too many people to please.
That's the problem,
and you're supposed to be in the center of it all. But then on the outskirts, like, you know, they're going to be pushing back. But you know, I get where David Seymour's coming from with his treaty bill, but something is not right about it. You know, he's not. He's like a Mike Hoskins doing his thing. And he's not, and I can see their point of view, but it's not right in terms of.
Well, he's applying his knowledge of the tiriti. His whole application sits outside of what the whole treaty is all about. The tiriti is not between the New Zealand government and the Crown. The tiriti is between, even the Treaty of Waitangi, the English version, is between Māori and the Crown.
And that's what he wants. He wants to take away the Māori part of it there.
Yeah.
And he called that New Zealand.
New Zealanders.
The Crown.
But the contract is between Māori people and the Crown.
No, they can't change it.
Yeah.
Now,
now
we spoke about this on another podcast we do, Empty Out the Clip. Yeah. And it's on YouTube now. And I saw someone comments on there, said, "Oh, you should read some more facts. They're not trying to change the treaty." And I was like, hang on. Man, I just listened to David Seymour on TV.
Yeah.
He was saying exactly that. He said he's talking about New Zealanders. He had no mention of Māori anywhere. Like it's changed to New Zealanders because we're all New Zealanders. I get that, but you still got to go back to the contract, man.
Yeah,
You can't just erase.
Yeah, what David Seymour and a lot of politicians are not doing is highlighting what the 4 articles actually say. In Te Reo, the Māori version, you would find that it's inclusive, super inclusive, but it also has elements of how, I think it's Article 4. It recognises and welcomes all different faith groups, ethnicities, and so forth. And Māori promise in partnership with the Crown to look after them, and if they want to practice their faith, that's kapai, it's up to them. That's fine, but within reasonable practice and being able to look after this house properly, which is why the Crown was initially brought on board, because people who came from the colonizers that came over, the settlers, they were lawless. And so that's where the Queen was brought in. Okay, you look after your people, we'll look after ours. So I get where David Seymour is saying, actually, we'll just look after everyone.
But he's doing it in like a racist way.
It's already in the Te Tiriti, David Seymour. It's already there. You just got to be able to get comfortable with the fact that it's got nothing to do with you as an individual, because you've got New Zealand and you've got Māori and you've got the Crown. The tiriti is between 2 people, and it doesn't include David Seymour in the way that he wants. And he removes Māori completely. And if that happens, then you'll find a lot of our Māori people will go back reliving, losing land. Our Bra foreshore is already getting smashed at the moment. The amount of drilling that's going on, I'm like...
Well, he believes it's New Zealanders, eh? New Zealanders are all equal. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. We're all Kiwis.
I agree, we're all equal. But we all have different needs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so to sort out those needs, you got to sort out what ethnicities we are. Because sometimes the needs are in those ethnicities, right?
Yeah. So it's that same mindset of one size fits all. And David Seymour's mindset is you adapt to what I give you. If you don't like it, change. But it's like, well, hang on, David. It's not quite like that. It doesn't work that way.
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
So, and I'll give you a real simple example, right? In Samoan culture, when someone is speaking, you sit down so that your head is not higher than theirs. You go to an all-boys school with the headmaster. When the headmaster walks in, you stand up. What David Seymour is saying is throw out all your whasamo practice and all your marae, your processes of the paipai on the marae, where you take turns speaking. From now on, if I want to cut you off and interrupt you, accept it, because that's going to be the new way. All your Māori protocol goes out the window. It's and he goes, but if you want to do that, do it on your marae, but don't do that on these other whenua. It's like, well, hang on a minute. A pōhiri is not limited to just the marae. A pōhiri can be adapted to all these different spaces. And so his mindset is keep it on the marae. Don't force it upon us. And then he does a commercial with the ACT Party speaking in Chinese.
Yeah, I saw that.
Congratulating him for it. But I'm like, okay, David. I get what he's doing. I understand it. But I'm like, David Seymour has not done any happy Chinese New Year ever in his history of politics. And all of a sudden he's doing it now, which is ironic because it fits with the Chinese market that New Zealand wants to have a stronger relationship with. But it's all, I just laughed and I went, oh, dude.
How can we live in a world where you don't look at the ethnicity, look at the situation? Like, is that considered race? Is that considered racist as well? Like, okay, we know there's poor people and there's people struggling in this country. Like, do we treat it like, do we have to say that, okay, these are brown people mostly, so it must be a brown problem. We'll fix their problem to bring them up. Or is it a financial thing? Like, we only treat if you're in that situation. But that makes it complicated.
It's so complex. What I'll answer that from a social services perspective,
because that's what David Seymour's trying to do.
Yeah. So I actually, depending on the context of how that question is applied, individually, it'll be different to each person, because not every Māori is going to be deeply engraved into Te Ao Māori. you know, and I've had the awesome honor of meeting some 2,000 plus people in the space of 2 years, you know, assessing them for housing. And you'll find that a lot of Pacifica and Māori needs are pretty much the same. And you find a lot of European brothers are very much the same in their own way, but how they view it is a bit different. Now, when you assess Pākehā who are struggling, it's interesting what comes out of their mouths. They say, "Oh, I don't feel like I belong here because there's so many services for Māori and Pacifica people, and I don't know where I fit in." So David Seymour is speaking to that. Whereas it's actually a real simple way to mitigate that. It's like, actually, all services, these are Māori and Pacifica specific, but they're not limited to just Māori and Pacifica. If you're Pākehā, under te tiriti o Waitangi, you are tangata tiriti, therefore you qualify for the same help. But remember, it's where does the putia, the money, come from? And so you pander to that narrative of kaupapa Māori, you know, Leo Pacifica, because that's where the money comes in. But if you start to include everyone, now what's your data going to look like? You know, it's context. I agree with David Seymour, but then I don't agree with David Seymour. I agree with the argument, but I disagree with the context, because I do believe, I mean, when COVID hit, right, our people were getting hammered. Pacific Islanders are not getting vaccinated. And I'm looking at the data. I'm going, the leading ethnic groups in this country for vaccinations were Pacifica, Māori, and Chinese. And I'm sitting there going, yet the media is driving this completely opposite narrative. And that was before the KFC and the vouchers came in. That was before that. And then they just sold this whole KFC, Pack and Save voucher, countdown voucher. And I'm going, our people were getting vaccinated in large numbers without all that bribing. But it's the narrative that's been sold. And that's what David Seymour and the government are doing. They're sending a narrative. And people, and this is what I mean by social media, bro, is a lot of people go, oh, you need to go back and research your facts. Cool. Are your facts from Facebook, from YouTube? Or have actually gone away and actually looked up the actual documents and read it for yourself? And you can tell someone who isn't really educated on our histories when they go, oh, we don't even have a constitution. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
But you're too busy looking at America going, oh, you've got one constitution, when our constitution is spread across multiple documents. And so that's as simple as that, you know, it's where you're getting your information from. Social media, no.
Isn't the treaty once again our constitution, sort of?
It's part of our constitution.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah, there's several documents in our constitution, and the treaty is part of that. But to say that there is no constitution, I'm just highlighting an example of what the general the responses that I see online as people go, we don't even have our own constitution. And sadly enough, it's from Pākehā. Going, man, I grew up being told that you guys are the most intelligent people in the species of human beings on earth, and you don't have the foresight to go away and do a little bit more reading. And now people need to do the same thing, is that rather than buying into these social narratives, go away and do some reading for yourself, rather than going, oh, white people bad. Actually, these good, and what our Pākehā brothers and sisters are doing, these bad, and same with us. I think that's another thing too. So we like to say that Pacifica people and Māori are amazing, we're strong, and I'm like, yes, we got all these problems, and we're blaming white people for it. When are we going to take responsibility? You know, don't wait for the government to tell you that you need to stop doing the meth. That's on you.
Have you read Alan Duff's book, The Conversation of New Zealand?
No, I haven't, but I will now.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
It's a good book. He's got some tough ideas. Yeah. But they make sense. Yeah. You know, he's not into all the PC stuff.
And it should be like that. It's just, you know, black and white, nice and simple. Yeah.
He's not into social welfare. He reckons that's the reason why, you know, brown people are poor, or people that are on social welfare are poor.
You can argue that with America and Germany, the lack of social welfare is why they're struggling.
So there needs to be, he always talks about there needs to be a balance, and we haven't got the balance right, sort of thing.
Yeah, he's got a point. He does have a point.
You gotta have people to have incentive to work, but you gotta reward them for
Yeah.
the work. That's how you get people out of poverty.
But there's so many layers, bro. So many layers. You know, we have businesses who up and raise their cost because of inflation. And then we turn around to staff members and go, sorry, we can't pay you anymore because we don't have the budget. You've just made a $10 million profit after expenses and you can't afford more wages. Oh, inflation doesn't allow it. I'm like, that's so weird. And so...
Well, it's all about lifestyle, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to... No one wants to lower their lifestyle. Like, you get used to a certain lifestyle, like certain level, and then you don't want to give that up.
Yeah.
Like, you used to, like, you know what I mean, eh?
These are, I think, what I'm hearing is, and I agree with, is that when you lean too much on the welfare system, it cripples you. It makes you dependent, and then you have the other elements of where, like, the whole idea of bringing MSD, checking in your hours, and then you've only done 12 hours, and then they dock you more than what you've earned. You're now getting less than you had when you're on the benefit, and so what's my incentive? Work and get significantly less, or don't work and get just enough to not get by, you know. And so I agree with him. The welfare system has created a problem. It was bad in the 90s, bro, so bad. You know, people in MSD giving checks out to their family members and just went crazy. But I think a welfare system should always be around. I need to go back and do a bit more reading on what's been happening overseas. I know there are other countries who have put into practice. Bro, look at Dubai. How they have their systems, like, you know, it's a nation that's flourishing. So if you're watching this podcast, go and do some of your own reading on this particular topic. So in Dubai, from what I understand, they don't pay taxes.
Really?
But the taxes is covered through utilities. So, you know, power, internet, the utilities and some of the food, but a lot of the stuff isn't taxed. And so you're able to keep most of your money, but then a lot of that goes onto utilities, and that enables people to be able to build their wealth. They encourage businesses. You have all these different incentives that are building up
back into the economy.
Right. And so
when you say in the utilities, like if the power bill was $10 a day, they add on $2 that goes to the tax.
That's the tax. Yeah, they'll get you through the utilities.
That's a pretty good way.
We come here and it's GST on everything. We've got GST on food, we charge GST on diesel, and then we pay for diesel, and then there's another separate diesel tax, you know. Now you've got the EV tax that's now come in, which is weird, right? So we're trying to deal with the carbon footprint that we have in this country, and New Zealand has less than 1% of a carbon footprint, and now we're taxing EVs that doesn't create a carbon footprint.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are you doing?
Well, no, why? Because they were complaining. They were complaining, right? Because it was like, okay, like when I first heard the story, it was like, okay, EVs is going to save you a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
You don't need gas. You can just power up at home and go. And there was no road charges back then. When it first came out.
Yeah.
So, obviously. But it was $100,000 to get a car.
Yeah.
Or it was expensive.
Yeah.
So it's only going to benefit the rich people. So hang on, we can't have that. So now they're, you know, to even it up, they do this.
You add a tax to it.
Yeah, they add a tax to it. So
it's weird. It's there are countries overseas looking at us going, what the hell are you guys doing? You're taxing bloody everything. So, you know, and then our products are sold overseas super cheap. You can get milk. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm reading stuff and I'm going, our butter, milk, and our meat is cheaper overseas. It's going up to $7 for 2 liters now.
Well, that's another thing that's happening in this country: inflation.
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff.
No, I don't understand I don't understand how a group of men in the banking industry can have a board meeting and come back and say our new inflation rate is going to be 8%. I mean, obviously they're smart people. They have all these meetings and they come out and they go, okay, we're now going to do it. Like the whole science of inflation, a lot of us don't even realize it. And there's no laws around stopping people from, you know, big businesses who sell, you know, they might have 10,000 70-inch TVs and then they're down to the last 50. All of a sudden they're upping the price because it's so limited.
There's no point to, like, some of the points for inflation is
inflation.
Stop people from spending. Like, you know, when things get more expensive, people start spending, and then sooner or later the economy needs them, so their prices will come down.
Yeah.
Isn't that supposed to happen? Isn't that what's supposed to happen?
Well, I'm not the best one to answer that question, but it's just from what I understand with inflation is a lot of it is built around scarcity. When you're running out of certain resources, there builds a competition where it now becomes more expensive because there's less of it. And to me, that's a stupid reason to up inflation, is because these resources are now less. And then 12 months later, all of a sudden, we have an abundance of that resource, which means we were never lacking it to begin with. It's a lot like...
Well, Jib was a good example of that. Like, they needed... I think they were building a factory down in Tauranga. But while that was happening, there was hardly any Jib.
Yeah.
So the prices skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Because they needed to control the supply.
Scarcity.
And but I don't know what's happening now, because now the factory's done. There's going to be heaps of Jib now. Is the price going to come down, or still be up there?
Exactly.
You guys can afford it, so we'll just leave it there.
That's what I mean. You know, that's my understanding of how inflation works. It's built around scarcity, and I think it's a pretty silly thing. Rather than saying, "Hey guys, you know, we sell burgers, but we've sold out today, so you know, tomorrow our burgers are not going to be from $5 and they're going to be $8." They come back and it's the exact same amount of burgers in the shop. It's like, where's the scarcity? You just ran out of stock that particular day.
Yeah.
So why should you be able to up your prices on the whole? I know there were economists, more intelligent people listening to it, have just said and go, but I don't know what you're talking about, and you're probably right. But that's my understanding of it anyway. I'm humble enough to admit that I'm wrong, but that's my understanding.
Yeah. So, man, so what have you been doing this past week? Like these holidays. What did you get up to these holidays?
Oh man, my wife and our New Year's was rocky. Started off with me in hospital, and then she ended up in hospital.
How come?
I found out what they called neuropathic something. So I injured myself back in 2020. I thought I was the man. I picked up this massive ass heavy table, got the technique right in lifting it. Got it wrong when I went to go put it down, and then when I put it down, I felt something slip.
Oh shit!
And so I've had that ever since. And then it got really, but now I've got this. What they call sciatica or something. You know, obviously got to lose the weight to help with that. Then my wife went in, epilepsy plus gallstones, all of that stuff happened. And then, but yeah, we chilled throughout the whole break because the industry that we're involved in, the work quietens down kind of from November right through to about February. And so you kind of just learn how to, you know, I should probably start, man, during these quiet times of work, people that come and ask for a spare 20, I should go, oh yeah, but I've hardly got any 20s, so I'm going to pay me back 30. Inflation.
So you and your wife run your own business? Yeah. You do those reports or for the housing, for the courts and that?
Not specifically. The type of industry that we're in doesn't really require us to do the reports, but we do build our own numbers. We do have our own little number. We kind of capture of, you know, which ethnic groups, which areas are mostly impacted by a certain type of document.
So what is it exactly you guys do?
So field visits, essentially people who have fallen behind on their debt, and they're not, and
people, homeowners, or
could be anyone, businesses, businesses that are trying to avoid foreclosure. A lot of business, bro. The building industry is getting hit pretty hard at the moment,
especially residential.
Yeah, a lot of small businesses that had these new dynamic ways of housing, they're shutting down because the government never came to their aid during COVID. A lot of the big companies got a big payout, but these smaller ones, because they didn't quite fit the quota of how many staff per se, they couldn't get that COVID funding, and so a lot of them are shutting down. A lot of them are liquidating. It's
and more recently the cyclone, the floods in Auckland last year. There's some of the houses that need
a lot of
waiting for the insurance and all that.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. It's even that world's a bit of a deli dive. It's insurance world just drives me insane. You pay all this money to get cover, and you ask for the cover, and all of a sudden the private investigator's on the other side of the phone.
Yeah, try to get out of it.
Trying not to pay you out. Oh really? Oh okay, but Jingus. But yeah, that's been us throughout the break. So our business is a bit different. We don't just knock on people's doors and say you need to pay up or you're in trouble. It's always the leading part of us is, why are you in the situation that you are in, and what type of help that you need. we then connect them to a service, and then the ownership is on them to now take lead. And then the ownership is on the NGO to work with their whānau and make sure that they're getting the help that they need. So that's basically what we do.
So would that be like the help would be getting another loan and sorting it out?
No. So the idea is for them to get out of debt. And it's when you connect people to NGOs will design a care plan for them to be able to get out of the situation they're in or to better manage it. You'll find that there are households that have a lot of young teenage boys who are sitting on the PlayStation all day and night, and mum and dad are trying to keep up with their bottomless tummies, so they say, okay, how would they like a job? Now you got to get a youth worker involved because those young men don't see the point in going to work when mum and dad does everything for free.
Right.
And it just goes
what?
and on and
That's
on.
a new one.
It's more common than you think, bro. You have these young, bro, we talk about respect among our people, but I've seen some howlers, man. They don't want to work because why? I go to school, I come home, there's food here, why do I need to work? But it's identifying those type of things, and you have someone who works with them and be able to create that pathway out of hardship, and then create a mindset, get some education going, some mentorship going.
There's no motivation though. Isn't the one main thing to help is motivation? When it comes to that sort of thing, kids playing PlayStation all day and not playing sports, and
I don't think it's so much. It's a lack of motivation. It's a lack of purpose. A lot of our young people don't know what their purpose is. They've grown up being told what to do, and seldomly are explored around the areas of, so what do you want to do? And it's a lot of the time it's not our parents' fault, bro. Double jobs, long hours, you're trying to pay the bills, and you're kind of too tired to have those conversations with our young people. But yeah, I don't think it's a lack of motivation. I believe if a young person is if the young person has a dream, that they would then go out and get the education. It'll spur them to get the education.
There was something you said on the podcast. I think it was Steve Harvey said. What was his line? Like, work towards his dream, not towards what you want to do or something like that.
Yeah, so that those are his words.
But education should come from a dream, not from just education in general.
Yeah, like don't talk to a child about the education. Talk to them about their dream.
That's it.
Yeah, and if you talk to a child about their dream, that dream will spur them to get the education. Now you're being specific. Now that the kid has a dream, you can aim the child in the pathway to get the appropriate education. We have a lot of young people who don't want to be lawyers. That's what I grew up with. Yeah, lawyer. I don't want to do anything. I want to be an actor. Yeah. And so I struggled with math. But I thrived in performing arts. And mum and dad hid that from me, but that was their DNA. They were performers in the background, and then political activists too at the same time. But yeah, find the dream. My mum, my dad. Mum and dad before mum passed, that was the things that they concluded. They realized that because they're looking at Dwayne, they looked at The Rock and all these Pacifica, and they go, man, if we just sponsored you and supported you in your dream to be an actor, we would have all been rich now, son. I'm like, thanks, mum and dad, I appreciate it. At least they've acknowledged it,
Yeah.
So it's, I'm all for education. Absolutely, you need an education. I think also to understand what's the whole purpose of going to school. It's to teach you discipline. The basics of discipline that will apply to your adult life. Unfortunately, our current system doesn't teach our young people proper life skills. But
I've heard even the financial side of things.
100%, bro.
Financial side of life. There's zero,
bro,
education there.
I helped pick up a vehicle for a young boy out in Remuera. Is a 20 years old. All he saw was the flash car sitting on 21-inch rims and the loud boom. He felt he loved it, and then it didn't occur to him that hey, you actually need to pay every single week. His mind said, I can't afford. Oh, good, I'll just pay it back next week. Next thing you know, there's like a big massive dude at the door going, sorry, bro, I'm going to take the car.
Yeah,
and and his attitude was poor. I actually tried to sit him down and go, here's what's happening. This is what you can do to remedy the situation. Here's who you need to. I even connected him to someone to get him a job straight away. But it just flew right over his head.
And that's common, eh?
It's common.
With kids,
Yeah. Because we don't teach our kids that in school. But even the ones in accounting in school don't get it. They're learning accounting, but you send them out into school and the real world, they come out. Oh my God, I didn't study. I kind of put a formula onto how to grocery shop this week. It's I'm not knocking education. You need it, but we need to aim the whole pathway of education a lot better. Yeah,
it's like social media is like a little bit of a culprit there, eh? Like, people see the cool stuff but never see the hard work, behind the cool stuff, or behind the people that they admire on social media.
And whether or not that stuff's even real, and that's man, it should be, social media should be changed to myself media, because social media is doing the complete opposite. It's disconnecting people, rather than being social. Well, I feel like we're being more antisocial now. And even sometimes I post something on Facebook and I'm like, delete. It's a bit too open. But social media is not helping. It's making all of us be so individually based that we are allowing minority groups to kind of just transform the scope of society and the impact that has.
I think the scary thought is the idea of, like, you could just stay in your room for the rest of your life. Get Uber, eats all your food. Yeah. Can be on your computer, work.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't have to leave.
Yeah.
If technology allow people to do that, if you really, really wanted to.
Yeah.
You don't have to step outside your house.
Yeah, but then you find a lot of those people who are like that have massive social anxiety. Send them out to the real world. They're looking around, It's like human connection is so important. You can communicate from your work from home job, but are you actually connecting to the people outside? But that's so true. You can do everything from home.
So, with your work, like, is there like a big mountain to climb in terms of, like, how do we fix whatever you're trying to fix? Like, with people in debt, are we seeing more people in debt now with inflation going on, COVID? Are we seeing people getting is it getting worse, or is it getting better with what you provide, helping people in that?
I find it's been consistent ever since I've been involved in the finance sector. It's been the same. If it has gotten worse, I don't think it's ever going to get better. But if we could, in our own small way, we're thinking future at the moment. Generational thinking is that if we can readjust someone's pathway now, who's gone off into the wrong tangent, if we can get them to correct their pathway, and that would have a roll-on effect to the ones that come after them. So, you can't, I don't think you can actually fix the financial issue in this country as a whole in one generation. It's going to take long.
Because I remember, like, for a long time, I didn't believe in buying a house. For a long time. Like, stuff, I'm going to buy a house. I don't want to be in the 30-year mortgage and I'm a slave for 30 years and, kind of go, I'd rather rent and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Just take off whenever I want. This kind of thing, like. But then that was before I knew about generational wealth and all that kind of stuff. And then, then there was a fear of being left behind.
Yeah, FOMO.
Yeah. But when I say being left behind, I mean struggling.
Yeah.
And then I hear on TV, like, a few years ago, hit retirement age 65, pension's not enough to pay the rent, or, even the KiwiSaver will help you for like 5 years, 6 years, and then that's it.
Like, what
unless you buy a house, own your own house.
Yeah, and even that's going to be like when you retire, is are you going to be mortgage free? Because if you retire on a pension and your mortgage isn't paid off, it's no longer an asset; it's a commodity now. It's property is an interesting thing. I'm still learning a little bit about it, and I listen to some of my wealthy friends, and they're like, "Bro, we don't even own a home. We just rent and we invest in companies, and we'll build a home when we retire." And I'm going,
that's probably another way of doing it. Yeah, that's probably another, because then when you retire, you can build a house anywhere.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to buy a house now. We want to rent, and then when we're ready to settle down, we'll just go pay cash and build it from scratch." I'm like, "Oh man, that's the type of retirement I want to get towards."
See, I like that idea.
Yeah.
See, I'll go back to my not caring about buying a house.
But like, you know, I mean, like these are the guys who have cash assets. You know, they can afford to do that. I mean, they could buy houses right now if they wanted to. I was on a ride along with another brother of mine, and he drove past and he just saw all these Raptors, all these big Ford cars, and he goes, "I'm bored of last year's model." So, oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I might actually upgrade.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the 2023 Ford, and he's bored of the old model. He wants the new one, the 2024.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
No, I think
those type of guys, you know.
I think you're right. You know, property is good to get into, especially with investing money in
Yeah.
there. Like, even like getting equity and then
Yeah.
getting a new house off that. And
Just point of, I'm not into property, so don't take my word. I don't have the fruit to.
But it's a good investment. Like,
Yeah.
I think New Zealand, but just because we haven't got the equity tax, what's it?
Yeah.
What's the equity tax?
The property.
They didn't want to do it because aren't we like one of two countries in the whole world that doesn't have that tax or something like that?
I know which. Yeah.
What's it called?
Man.
The property gains tax.
Property gains tax. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting one.
Do you know my
'cause
theory on that is? There's so many people with properties. The voters don't want the property gains tax because there's so many voters that have multiple properties.
Honestly, I don't have a problem with people owning so many properties, but I do have an issue with people who buy a silly amount of properties and then they leave it sitting there as an asset. They won't put anybody in it.
Well, that's one of the problems
Yeah.
of not having the capital gains tax. The other problem is the rent prices go up.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's I don't know. I mean, there's the whole housing sector is interesting, and what I learned in social housing was not so much landlords were happy to get into social housing because their rent was guaranteed every week, so the mortgage was getting paid. They didn't have to top up so much every week.
Well, that's an incentive to get a house.
Yeah, the incentive. Yeah, but then the downside is they'll get that and ah about who would put into that house. And so you'd have housing first is all about housing a person first and then dealing with the situations after. And then meth insurance isn't really there anymore, you know, for a lot of landlords. Really? Yeah, and so that scares landlords away from getting into social housing. Oh, but what if your client has meth and they damage my property and then the value drops? And so they get scared because, community housing, no, we don't want to be a part of it anymore. There's so many elements in the background where you vet families and landlords are now starting to speak in to tell us about these families, you know, and then you got the Privacy Act. Now you got a balance where the landlord doesn't need, you know, when you're in social housing, the landlord doesn't need to know who's moving in, where they're from, what's their background, how many kids, how many dogs, how many teeth do they have. It's just, all they need to know is that your house is getting filled, your rent's getting paid. Even when it was empty, when a house wasn't full, the social housing organization would still pay the rent. So they had to make sure it was filled all the time. But yeah, there's so much to it. But I find that it's ridiculous that one person or an investment group can own 40, 50 properties, few streets apart, and they're all empty. And we need to house people. Even government building houses, you know, spending, you know, theoretically speaking, say $10 million to build 200 homes. You know, 200 million, and they $10 million to build 200 homes, and then they go sell it off for $100 million. Now the house is going to be on market value. Families can't move in. If you built it for the people, put people in it.
Those ghost houses there. Talk about
so many, bro. So many. It's ridiculous the amount of social housing that I drive past, you know, and I go, man, that's been empty for months.
Yeah.
And then I look into it, it goes, oh yeah, that's this holding group limited. You know, and then you look into the portfolio and you find out, you know, 4 investors are in China, 1's in America, 2 in Australia, 3's in New Zealand, and they can't just fill it because they have to have a meeting and all come into agreement. So
I was always impressed with Vision West because I've got some friends that are broken up with their partners and are single mums. Man, they've got into those homes like quick, and they're brand new when they got into there.
That's an interesting one. But if you're a woman, and even with MSD, if you're a solo mum, it's not always like this, by the way. If you're a solo mother and you're homeless, you have a significantly higher chance of being put into as a social housing almost immediately. 99% of the time you're going to go into e-housing, but if you go to places like Vision West, Kahui Tukaha, and you're a solo mum, and generally they lean towards supporting the mums because they have the kids, and unfortunately our tāne tend to miss out. It's a I sometimes take issue with it because I'm like, well, if the partner is still a good parent, can you house him too so that he has a healthy place for the kids if they're going to have co-parenting?
Because that's sort of like a loophole, eh? Like I know situations where the parents split up, and the mum gets the social home.
Yeah.
But if there's any inkling there's another income coming in, then they'll lose the home, eh?
Yeah.
And like sometimes that person is the actual father.
Yeah. It's really weird how it's set up. So you could have the father might not be paying any child support, but depending on how it's calculated, you still might end up losing some money on the benefit as a solo parent because of how they calculate it.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I still can't get my head around it because
is it calculated on the fact that okay, the dad's gone, that's it. He's not gonna support. He's not gonna give any money at all.
Well, they tend to they so the way it works is they calculate. So if they split, say in January, they readjust the child support and the benefit based on last year. So they don't look at present circumstances. Whatever's happened in the last 12 months, that would determine how much you're going to get for the next 12 months. And then it changes after that because now you're going to go, cool, so you guys struggled and suffered for the last 12 months. Now we're going to now we're going to do something about it. We're not going to be preventative. We're going to wait for you to fall to the bottom of the cliff and then I'm going to pull up with an ambulance when you're already in hardship. But it's not all grim and dark. A lot of our men are getting nice housing. So it's unfortunately, it's not so much also that it's men, it's also a fact that we don't have many single bedroom homes anymore. That's a big challenge at the moment. So a lot of NGOs and kāinga ora more than happy to house our single men and women, but because families come first, you'll find a lot of them will go couch surfing or stay on the streets because there's simply not enough single bedrooms. So that's something outside of government and NGO control. But yeah, so complex, bro. Yeah, there's so many layers around that, but yeah.
And then you got the 501s coming, and then they need them housed.
Yeah, and then you got an immigration quota. There's so many people that we have to look after. And for such a small country, sometimes I'm like, can we just put a pause on that for a minute? Let's just get everyone here okay first so that we're in a better capacity to not just bring people in, but as a community, we can better look after them. But then, how do we say no to people who are living in war-stricken areas? They come here and this is heaven for a lot of them. It's like, wow. The only trauma is they miss their family.
Man, I noticed all the townhouses going up around. There's heaps, eh? There's a lot. And I wonder if that's like supply and demand thing where there's so many and no one occupying them. And so that's why there's a drop in the economy with residential homes.
I'm a fan for those big community houses, those big buildings. What's missing, and that's from a tried and tested formula that I did with the organisation I was with, where you had high complex people to low move in, all sorts of issues, but you had a team of social workers that were there during the day. You had access to a nurse, a doctor, a psychologist, or a counsellor. In Avondale, there was one.
It's in there.
It's all in there.
Everything. Oh.
Yeah, and then you have security guards. 4 guards working the shift at night time, constantly monitoring the car park, the front, the back, the school, every floor, just making sure the place is safe.
Those big houses, those big apartments, just on the corner in Avondale.
Yeah. So that's something that was tried and tested throughout COVID, and it did amazing results came out of it. And then I get sad when I see a lot of these other big apartments go up, and then I see there's no security guards, there's no social workers. And you're wondering why people are screaming and people are getting hurt and stuff's happening. I mean, it's not. I think another thing that we have to acknowledge is just how much of that statistic is bad. So we look at social housing, they're all bad. In actuality, about 85%, this is a statistic I'm pulling from maybe 2001, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but you'll find that about 85% of clients in social housing are actually good.
85%.
But 85%, they're great. The other 15% is what consumes most of the resources because of how complex they are.
Just not getting a job and that kind of stuff.
So much going on. That's such a easy go-to for so many people. Think, oh, they're not getting a job. There's so much going on with some of these people. Within that 15%, you've got people who suffer from severe mental health issues,
Right.
severe paranoia, schizophrenia, mental health disabilities, physical disabilities, mentally challenged, addictions, drug addictions, sexual addictions, you name it. That 15% have got so much going on that it consumes an enormous amount of resource. And so you have to spread that out over the 85 that are good. So that's why you have low, medium, and high complex clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how they sort it out.
Yeah. The low are the ones who are self-manageable. The medium ones, they're doing okay. They just need a reminder every now and then. The high complex ones are the ones that need constant monitoring.
Right.
And those are the ones who, will have a higher failure rate because they carry so much. So when you go past those homes, just remember that the majority of them are actually good. It's the very small amount that are causing issues. But because the media don't highlight that fact to everyone, we just buy into the whole news article headline, oh yeah, social housing, bad tenants.
Blanket, yeah.
But it's not true. I mean, it was prolific in the emergency housing during COVID, but overall, you would find, about 85%. That data's probably changed since then, but I think it'll be about the same. The majority are not bad. And I think the sooner we move away from that, then some of our whānau who go into those places might feel so whakamā for living in an apartment.
But you know what? These organizations you work for and used to work for, like Vision West, and there's all the data's there. Like it's amazing to me that sometimes the media don't want to push that.
And the
good
data
stories, because like you said before in the beginning of the podcast, like sometimes we don't want to hear the good stories.
Yeah, because it doesn't make money.
Doesn't make money.
It doesn't make money. It's so. The media is a machine that is fueled by emotions. The more sad, the more angry we are, then if you jump on the Facebook now and you watch the certain news media groups and you watch how many likes and shares they have on the articles that make you angry, thousands, and then a happy article, 50.
Man, have you seen the Facebook posts, the comments? Every time a hero story comes up, it's talking about misfortune and that.
You read the comments, man, and it's always what cracks me about the comments is people will say something, and I'm reading, I'm going, that's not even in the article, which means you haven't read it.
Yeah, let's read the heading.
You're just basing it on the headline, and I've been guilty of doing that when someone's checked me on it and goes, did you even read the article? And I'm like, be right back.
I see. Facebook has that thing now. Like if you click on comment in this article, but you haven't clicked on the article, it will say, "Oh, can you click on the article and read it before you comment?"
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a thing like a safety thing.
So I haven't been paying attention to it, but yeah, I'm reading now. I still make the odd mistake where I just jump the gun and then someone would check me on. I'm like, oh, my bad. Yeah, actually, I'm wrong. I'll go back and read it, and I'm going, okay, my point of view is more.
But man, I sometimes I love reading the comments because some of them are funny, like crack up, man, and like I remember talking to someone else on the podcast about this, looking at comments and like, man, if you didn't know, sometimes if you weren't aware that there's racism still here in New Zealand, sometimes you gotta go read some of these comments, man.
And you'll see it, yeah.
And you'll see it, but Facebook is a platform where you put your real name on. It's not like Twitter where you hide behind a fake name. But man, don't these people know what they're saying is racist sometimes?
I always find that term racism funny in a way because check me if I'm wrong, check me on that. But so we have the one human race, and we have racism. I think what we have is ethnicism.
Ethnicism,
if that's even a word. If you want to put an ism to it, it's weird how the human species is pretty much all the same.
The PC people probably change it to ethnicism because racism might be triggering.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't take my word for that. But I always thought of that. I'm like, is it an issue between races or is it an issue between ethnic groups? And then you have...
What's the difference?
Well, race is a species.
Right.
You know, so you have different, you know, I don't know much about animals, but if you have different types of zebra, you know, you're gonna, what is it, zebrism? I don't know.
Oh, right.
You know,
I get you.
if you
So
had
human is a species, so
Yeah,
we're
so
one race.
we're one race, the human race, and so
The human
human race, and then we're going, oh, racism. I'm like, is it a race issue or is it an ethnic issue, which is often drawn from misunderstanding, you know?
Well, you're breaking it down.
Yeah, and then you've got culturalism, cultural issues. Whereas, you know, like we spoke earlier about Samoa, and then you come to New Zealand, it's a different culture altogether.
Well, culturalism makes sense for New Zealand born versus Samoan born,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But these differences, these arguments between that too. Oh, but in my culture and my culture, and then Russell Peters summed it up nicely. When he went to India, he was like, "Man, I'm so Indian. I'm so Indian." And then he jumped out of the plane, and the smell hit him in the face, and he was like, he turned back into a Canadian super quick. Whereas the Indians back home were like, "What's the problem? There's nothing here." And I was just like, bro, shit just hit me in the face, went up my nose, and like, I'm so Canadian right now. That's an example of culturalism versus ethnicism, and then the whole race issue. When you peel it back, is it really about race, or is there an understanding that about someone's ethnic group that you haven't been educated on yet? You know, and then maybe if you understood that, then we'll come back. I don't know. I just find the word racism funny, and I'm like, wait, so there's just one human race? So to say that we're racist would have to say that we all come from different planets.
Well, that sort of man. Have you read Homo sapiens
No.
or Sapiens?
No. I probably watched a documentary on it, but
It's an interesting book. We should read it because it's from a perspective of it's the historian that wrote the book, Yuval Harari. I think he's an atheist, but it's funny because he calls himself a humanist.
yeah.
So that's not atheism, right? If you believe in something, you're not atheist. Atheist means you believe in nothing, right?
Well, what's a humanist?
Well, he explains it in the book. But so he writes this book, right? The history of the human race,
Yeah.
from caveman to now, right?
Yeah.
But he writes it in a perspective as if he was an alien up there in space, looking down
I like that.
and
Yeah.
seeing what we're doing in history and
Yeah.
following our human history. So he's got like a neutral kind of, okay, we're doing this and that.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Oh, look, we got different cultures. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Oh, look, the Europeans, they found technology first. So now they're traveling the world.
Did they?
Like, they're the ones that colonize because they've got the technology, right? I'm not talking about the Egyptian days, like back.
I don't.
But
I wrestle with that.
they're the last colonizers, right?
They were the last colonizers, but they
So
actually.
they did it with technology. They did it with ships,
So
ships, guns, and
we had
all that kind of stuff.
we had waka ammo and spears ourselves. So there's another narrative that's really sad, is that this whole savagery narrative about indigenous people. What a lot of people don't know is that the settlers that came here came with sickness, disease, infections. They brought the flu over with them, and a lot of them were dying on the ships. They didn't know how to fish, they didn't know how to farm, and it was the indigenous people that taught them.
Yeah.
So when people talk about they brought technology, I'm like, so who taught you how to farm the land? Who taught you how to navigate the stars? Because they were using compasses, bro, to show them where to navigate. Whereas our people were going, cool, so that celestial star system is up in the sky. If we're going to leave to go back to Rarotonga, we need to be heading that way, and then the stars are going to shift over the next 2 days, meaning we're going to be going right again. So what is technology in that sense? Anyway, bro, I heard that comment.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying, but it changes the question. The question why? Why did they colonize the way they did, and why did everyone else stay where they are?
Well, that's the whole.
Why did they get taken over?
Yeah, the part of I think a lot of it was in my view, a lot of it was deceptive. You know, a lot of it was under the false pretense of we're here to be one with you, and then time goes along, and next thing you know, they betray everyone. They betray the indigenous people, and that's a common theme that you find through a lot of empires. You know, Genghis Khan did the same thing. Alexander the Great did the same thing. They came through and said, we're going to improve your lands and make things better for you. But if you resist, we're going to absorb you. You know, it's a similar thing that happened here. There was colonization by choice, not necessarily. We signed a treaty, and then they went into our marae and,
Mm.
you know, so I'm like, is that colonizing or is that invasion? Is it terrorism or is it colonization? Colonize is when you set up a society, but when you start forcing a society to be integrated, is that still colonization? Or because colonization on its own, what is that versus the actions that have been taken? Now you're looking at a version of extremism, terrorism.
Or just wanting to get resources.
Yeah, because we went to Samoa and we colonized there.
Yeah.
We went to Tokelau and colonized there. You know,
But who was there? No one.
Well, you'll find in some Pacifica history that there were islands with different people already there. So you talk about the island of, you know, in Tonga and that island, in their history there were already Vanuatu and Fijian people already there.
Mm.
So who colonized who? Yeah, that's what I mean. Like colonization, what does that mean on its own? Versus, what is colonization versus the actions that are actually taken?
Well, the current definition of that is just the Europeans taking over, like putting their values onto indigenous people around the world and just
conquer,
taking over sort of thing. Yeah, like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. We should do it our way. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah,
do this. Now we don't like we like the hula. We'll keep that. But now you guys, we don't want the other thing. You know what? Yeah, we'll keep that, but we won't have that.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the interesting I found interesting about that book was the whole thing about Spain and what they valued, and it was gold.
Yeah,
and gold was something no one else valued, and the indigenous, like Aztecs and the Mayans, there was gold there.
Yeah,
but they just thought it was shiny rock. Who cares?
You know, that's an amazing thing. People came along and go, "Oh, this is rare. Let's make it expensive," and the indigenous people are going, "It's a rock."
Yeah, who cares?
What is your problem with the rock?
So it goes into all that. It's pretty interesting, that kind of stuff. Even the how they, like, you know, the American Indians. Like in the book, he says that when Columbus went over to America, he actually thought that was India.
Did he go to Columbus? Nah, let's not go down there. Carry on. Yeah,
I think it was Columbus. When Columbus goes to America, he actually thought it was India. That's why he called them Indians, the indigenous there.
And one of the funny things in that interaction was the native Indians, the Native Americans, could not figure out, like, you want to buy our land? Who owns land? You know, that was the concept then, is like, since when does any individual own land? We are one with the land, but to own it?
I think Dave Chappelle did a joke on that.
Yeah.
He actually acted it out that moment.
Oh, okay.
Like, they come in and say, "Oh, we want to buy your land." And, what? For like $10 or whatever it was. And they were, "Oh yeah, give me $10. Yeah, ha, look, this idiot gave me $10 for the land. Ha ha."
Yeah,
you know, like stupid.
Was it Tennessee? Was it Tennessee he was talking about? Yeah, they sold like,
because the concept is different, no?
Yeah, and so the natives were like, "Okay, whatever, okay."
It's like buying air.
It's
like
buy the land.
Yeah, give me the money. Look, I got free money.
Yeah.
Because this guy said he was going to buy the land. Ha ha.
Man, so many. I mean, it's so, like, it's beautiful when you deep dive into history and you learn about some of the stuff, bro. The different. Man, I swim in that space quite a bit, and it's interesting all the different things that come up.
Well, there's different perspectives. Like this book I'm talking to you about, like his humanist thing. Like, because he's an alien looking down at he doesn't get certain things that humans do. Yeah. And it's interesting to look at that perspective, like the wars or the culture, even the cultures kind of stuff. Yeah. Like he's talking about flags. Yeah. There's a bit of material with color in it. Why are we so, why are these guys so, like, protecting a material with a color on it? Like, what the hell is that? Like,
it's kind of like, why are men running around with rubber filled with air? And putting it down on grass across the line, and then we're spending millions to go watch.
Yeah, so he's deleting culture, he's deleting religion, he's deleting everything, and that's the cause for the human problems in the history. You know, like, why are we killing each other? Why are we?
Good questions.
Why are we hating each other? You know,
bro, I wonder if I knew this guy in a previous life. I so agree with those questions, because I look at history and I go, cool. So we allowed a small group of idiots to find a reason to hate somebody else. Then they created an army. Then they went and conquered someone who did absolutely nothing to them, created a war. And then what happens is you learn from it. Okay, let's live in peace now. And then another couple of idiots come along and say, we're going to rule. And it just repeats. And I look at it, I go, us humans are so thick, man. Can we just you know what? You've got all that land. Just be happy.
Like, when you look at how World War One started, that's the stupidest reason ever, man. Just because these countries had a contract with each other to help, protect. And then, I invaded this country, so my mate over here's going to back me up. Then, you invited me. My mate over here will back me up.
And you find the corporate machines behind. Oh, bro, don't get me started on World War One and World War Two. Even the current wars that are happening right now. I look and I go, wouldn't it be nice if people just minded their own business?
Yeah.
It's like, cool, you like that they have oil? You don't have it? Ask for it. Or you don't want it for free? Pay for it. You can't afford it? Sweet. Can draw your own oil. But why are you going to go invade somebody else and then make up a reason to... I don't know. It's just like, I look at the people who've led armies and I'm like...
But it's the leaders of those armies that don't do jack shit.
I look at...
They're just sending... People are dumb enough to go and fight,
That's why I love Muhammad Ali's argument against, Viet Cong man did anything to me. Why should I go fight the Viet Cong man? What beef do I have with him? So...
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
That footage of him saying that.
But yeah, man, us humans are interesting. And I think it's in all of us, bro. It's not just white people, it's in all of us. When we want something, there's a part of us that go, what can I do to take that away so I can have it?
When it comes to war, I always remember that quote on The Godfather, Part 2. Yeah. At the end, when Sonny, when he sees Michael join the army, he gets mad.
Yeah.
He said, man, army ain't your blood, you remember that?
What?
Why you want to fight for a stranger?
Yeah.
Army is not your blood.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I never understand about war. We're sending troops over fighting in a war that has nothing to do with us.
And you die in
yeah.
You've just lost your life.
Yeah. And I feel for our soldiers, man. I mean, I understand the need for soldiers and, for those defense systems in place. But we wouldn't need it if countries just minded their own business and, built their own people, developed their own people, helped them thrive, build better economies. But we're human. There was going to be a few that want it all for themselves. You're going to have, what's the saying I heard? Life is imperfect, therefore everything underneath it is imperfect. So no matter how hard you try and, people say, if Tesla was alive, if he didn't die, we'd have been a big thriving society. We're humans. Chances are that would have had corruption too.
Was he a good guy, that Tesla did?
I'm a fan of Tesla. He created some wonderful inventions that would have been to the betterment of mankind. But when you're ahead of your time, a lot of narrators, bro, have written him out to be a crazy person, which is sad. But the man was brilliant. These created systems that allowed all of us to live in harmony.
Because when did he pass?
I can't remember.
Because I know
1800s or something.
I never knew who he was.
Yeah.
I thought Elon Musk was the guy, but I didn't know Tesla was a real dude.
Elon Musk was just a guy who created the Tesla car, and then, bro, he bought the Tesla name for like $3,000.
Really?
Some guy thought it was worth nothing. The guy actually trademarked Tesla, and then maybe it was more than 3,000, but it was for peanuts compared to what the bro earns. And yeah, he put it in the car, and now it's a $1 billion brand now. I wonder how that guy's feeling sitting at home. Sold that guy the Tesla name for 3,000.
So Tesla, what did he do? Is he something to do with electricity?
Yeah, he created the concept of free energy. So he created a machine that would absorb energy that's in the atmosphere and then convert it into everyday usable energy. So wireless technology is based on Tesla's technology. So Wi-Fi, it's all based on that tech.
We can't use it to renew energy?
We can.
But we don't,
It's not profitable.
Money to be made in fossil fuels.
Oh, he's always, I mean, I can understand. If I was a businessman and I had an electricity company that was making billions of dollars and I was that type of person, then I would go, why would I get free energy? I would lose all my empire. I'd lose everything. or most of it, eh? But yeah, that's humans. And yeah, it's amazing, eh? Population of 6 million people, and only about 50 people control the country.
Our country. Do you think there's like a higher sort of secret power out there?
Oh, do we want to open that can?
I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, but I always hear it.
It's a wonderful subject. Secret societies have been around for millennia, bro. They've been around.
But I think it's people want and interested in it.
Well, these historical evidence that confirms that they were. Oh man, I was just reading it the other day. There were societies in the day who their job was to come in and basically reset society. If it got way out of hand, that was their job, was to come in and try and fix the economy. And if it didn't, then they had to do something to flip it.
What?
Yeah,
I don't believe that.
yeah. So it's recorded. It's a lot of people kind of and ahhing about it.
Yeah.
And so the question now is that I ask is, do they still exist now? Not in the capacity that they did back then, I don't believe. I don't think that a secret society now controls everything. I think it's just a handful of wealthy people that have more money than all of us. But an actual secret society from like maybe 1,000 years ago, probably not.
I believe the obvious one is the rich people, like, just they're lobbying where the politics goes. Like America's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Easy for them to do it.
I don't even know why we follow America. I'm like, can we just delete America from our social media and politics? Stop following them. There's such a United States of America, yet it's the most divided country in the entire world.
Mm. You get into the politics?
Yeah.
American politics and that?
You've got senators across multiple districts, states in America, all arguing with each other. Even Democrats are warring against Democrats. And so I look at American history, I look at American politics, and yeah, they're amazing in finances, but a lot of us don't realize that we followed their economic patterns and we ended up with the same problems.
Right.
So my mindset now with America is like, God bless them, look after themselves. But, do we need to follow America to thrive? I think we've got enough knowledge now to thrive on our own. But because so many countries owe money to so many different countries, it's a bit hard to do that.
I think they're mad. I think they're crazy.
Yeah,
I love the entertainment.
Yeah,
the entertainment is really good.
Yeah, like honestly, every war that I follow, and I look into them like, oh, yeah, sure enough, there's America. Everything's going fine, and who's agitating it? Oh, yeah, it's America. And I'm like, and we're following them. Like, I mean, thank you to America for a lot of the stuff that we now have. But I think we give them way too much credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of our smart tech didn't even come from America. That came from Asian countries, who then Americans then went and tried to perfect and create their own patterns and so forth.
Mm. No, I love the satire that comes out for them. Like. Have you on Netflix right now? There's that movie, The Death of Stalin. Have you seen it?
No.
You should watch it, man.
I watch a lot of. I'm just okay. I'll go watch it.
It's a crack up, man. It's funny. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
But it's a dark comedy.
Yeah.
But man, it gives you a funny perspective on what life would have been like in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
In the 50s.
Yeah.
Or in the 50s when he passed away. Because the movie's about when Stalin passes away. So there's like a power vacuum. Who's gonna take over?
Yeah.
So all these leaders are trying to put themselves in position to take over. But it's the whole lifestyle sort of thing. It's the paranoia.
Yeah.
Because you can't really. Everything's equal over there, right? Everything's equal. There's no rich, no poor.
Yeah.
The only rich people are the government.
Yeah.
You got to do what the government tells you to do, otherwise you die or go to jail.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much life in Soviet Union. And it's crazy kind of. But the movie, what's funny about the movie, it makes fun of all this kind of stuff. It makes fun of the paranoia. So there's a scene where a guy gets a call from Stalin's office.
Yeah.
And there's another officer next to him.
Yeah.
He picks up the phone and goes, "Hello? Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. 17 minutes? Okay. Put the phone down." And then another guy goes, "Who's that?" "Oh, that was Stalin's office. He said there's something important. Someone's going to come over and pick something up.
Yeah.
But for me to ring back in 17 minutes. And then the other guy goes, oh shit. is it 17 minutes when you picked up the phone, or 17 minutes when you hung up? And the other guy's, oh shit, I don't know.
That's an emphasis on how Stalin was very specific with instructions. That's very good.
And so they were stressing out on the 17 minutes. Like, what's the time? What's the time? Shit, I forgot to time it. like, and they were just so stressed out.
I want to watch it now.
No, but
We're
it's that kind
supposed
of, they're making fun of the life, you know,
Yeah.
and it's really.
And it was ridiculous. Some of the stuff that Stalin did was ridiculous. Like, I understand he was a very precise man, but sometimes, like, dude, you got control issues. So
Oh
what?
yeah.
So what? Someone was in the toilet for 10 seconds longer than you. Like, it's
Must have came from that then.
no reason for you to go and top the guy.
Yeah.
He must be in there planning to take us over.
Because when the cops came to pick up what they were going to pick up, like they said, okay, I want to note that you're 2 minutes late. We're trying to note that 2 minutes late, and then they walked off. It was like, and then the guy was worried, like
His life is on the line.
But yeah, but man, it's scary, eh?
Yeah.
How would you like to live, man? Why would you want to live like that?
I don't know. I just find it strange that millions of people would go, yes, sir. You are the Prime Minister. Yes, sir. You know, and people buy into the whole fear of missing out because they think something bad's going to happen to them.
But then it's the because you know there's that book, the Gulags. Have you read that book?
No.
About what?
I need you to send these books to me, bro. After this.
Yeah. The archipelago, the Gulag archipelago.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about the life in Russia at that time and the prisons.
Yeah.
But it talks about how it starts. Like that, the people are encouraged to be equal.
Yeah.
Like there's rich people and there's poor people.
Yeah.
Poor people are allowed to go and take whatever they want from a rich person's house and kick them out.
Oh my god.
And everyone to make everything the same.
Oh my god.
Like, just imagine overnight. Like it's Lenin, right? He's the first one, right? He makes this law like, okay, everyone's equal. No more rich, no more poor.
It's like free purge rights.
The government is going to tell you what to do. Everyone's going to be equal. The whole world, the whole country. You know? And just on a grand scale. And if you don't agree, you go to jail.
Yeah.
Or get shot.
Okay, I need to read these books.
It's man, it's
What's
you go, what?
What's the name? What's the name of that Taekwondo podcaster?
Taekwondo.
I feel like this is becoming a Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, yeah, Joe Rogan, yeah.
It's interesting when you look at that stuff. I'm finding this quite awesome to talk the topics that you're bringing up. Gosh, it's a bit tricky to have it with other people, and they're like, "You right, bro?"
But what I'm quite interested in it is the human nature of it.
Yeah.
Like I would never think that happened. Like everyone knows about the Holocaust and Hitler and all that.
Yeah.
But no one knows really about Pol Pot and
Yeah.
bloody Cambodia. And then you got Stalin and what he's done.
Bro.
Lenin and all that. Like, you know, these are just as bad, man, or worse.
Even the stuff that's happening right now in the Congo. Like, you know, this.
Yeah.
Like there's like these. Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with because the information that we see is beyond our control. We see what we are told to see. What was it? There's an American journalist who's absolutely getting slandered in America because he calls them out for their nonsense, and he's living in Russia at the moment, and the Russians love him. But if you go to American media networks, he's just painted as this traitor, evil man. I'm trying to remember his name.
That's not Tucker Carlson, is it?
Yeah, Tucker. Yeah.
No, didn't he go to interview Vladimir?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-hour interview.
The Russians love him. And a lot of what Tucker says is he calls American out for the nonsense they do. And Americans, you're a traitor, you're committing treason. And
well, he got fired from Fox. So. Now he's got his own podcast and doing his own thing.
For telling the truth. What's wrong with...
Yeah.
Oh, you hurt our feelings, you exposed us. And Fox is terrible. Gosh.
Yeah, there's another media crowd that left America. They're based in Spain now, but they do a podcast every morning.
Yeah.
It's like a daily kind of show, news show.
Yeah.
Just it's a right wing kind of stuff.
These an Australian media channel that I like listening to.
Oh yeah.
And they expose us so bad, but with satire. It's funny. I'll find it and I'll send it to
Oh
you.
yeah.
My brother Josh is forever singing them to me. Like, bro, this is awesome. We need this in New Zealand. You know, it's make light on goes. He goes, how is it 6 million New Zealanders listen to one little lady that looks like the clone of Helen Clark? And then just take the mickey, man.
There's I don't know if you do listen to the platform.
I've heard of the platform.
Sean Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Because he got fired there from, he got let go from, I think it was Magic FM.
Yeah.
Don't know who owns them, MediaWorks or I don't know which one. But he got let go and he made his own like podcast, kind of like. So I see the pattern like in America, like you know all these political commentators.
Yeah.
They go off and do their own thing.
Yeah.
And they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like
you do know that MediaWorks is an American company, eh?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
So it's MediaWorks. So you got MediaWorks Australia, MediaWorks New Zealand. They are all under the parent company of MediaWorks USA. That's why our media sounds so American right now.
Right.
Yeah. My FM, MediaWorks.
So does Fox come under them somehow? No, they're separate.
Oh no, maybe they are owned by. But I know MediaWorks that owns a lot of New Zealand media.
Yeah.
There are no difference as to how Universal New Zealand is under Universal Studios America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing the trend now with the right wing political commentary in the States.
Yeah.
Sort of coming in here now with the platform.
Yeah.
Sean Plunkett's the same sort of thing, eh? Like trying to mimic what's going on.
Yeah.
Like doing your own independent show.
Yeah.
And putting a paywall sometimes, or sort of using the skills from mainstream coming do your own thing.
And journalists, like you can, and when they earn that space, they can actually use their journalistic skills without somebody else dictating how they can move.
But sometimes it's dangerous. Sometimes because you end up having the echo chamber.
Oh heck yeah!
You don't get different perspectives, eh? You just get this perspective of Sean Plunkett. Yeah. And if you like him, you can listen to him. Yeah. And who cares about anyone else?
Yeah. And then you buy into that narrative.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I guess, what's the saying? And it's saying too many voices, it corrupts your direction. You need to have one sound voice in your life.
Yeah.
I can't remember where that sounded, but I get it. You know, it's when you have that one voice that's online and you're listening to it, you just fall in love so much you don't bother to go back and read.
In New Zealand, you almost have to wait till a guest goes on different shows to get different perspectives. Because if you go to Jack Tame, he's sort of left wing, like right, centre left.
You're teaching me now. Yeah,
I think when you go to Jack Tame show, he's sort of centre left. So if a guest goes there, like recently it was Chloe Schauberg, you get the perspective of Jack Tame, which is centre left. And then if she goes on to Sean Plunkett, you get different perspective, different questions come. Yeah, and so you probably need to hear both. Yeah, because there's only one side of both of these platforms.
And it depends on the questions too.
Yeah, if you're a good journalist, then you
there was
both ways. But
was it Chloe Schauberg was being interviewed? I don't remember who it was about the one that resigned for stealing. Oh, and then he slipped in the middle of the question. He goes, "Oh, so we saw the video footage. Was that you in the background?"
Oh, really?
And I went, "You dirty punk! You've just planted a seed in all the listeners going, well, she was part of it." And so Chloe's explanation after it was completely defeated now, because the only thing that you could think about was it her in the back of that footage? And Chloe was like, how can you make that assertion? Because that's not even true. First of all, no, after that point, I didn't hear what she said. All I heard was that you in the back of the footage? I had to listen to it twice.
What's wrong with that is that you didn't even see the face. So you can't just say, was that you? Like,
well, he asserted that it was her. You know, we've looked at the footage and it shows, is that you in the background? So he's saying,
is it conclusively her?
Well, her alibi was confirmed. She was nowhere near it.
Well, then he shouldn't have said that.
But
there's no proof.
But you understand how clever that move was?
Yeah. See, that's leaning towards the opposite. So, Yeah. See, that's a sabotage. Eh?
Yeah, because now anything that comes out of her mouth just sounds stupid because, it probably was her. Mm. She was part of the theft. She should resign.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah, that was interesting. She for a lawyer to steal, like, nah, that's not on. Yeah. Public figure like that. What I didn't agree with was how the media hammered her.
Yeah.
Like, they even knocked on her door and Hey,
That's the media for you, bro. I mean, these,
surely the story was enough.
bro. I remember a client lost his partner on the same day that, I don't know how they heard about it, bro. How it got out. The same day that it happened, the media was already outside the door.
What?
Yeah. Oh, we heard that you lost your partner and your baby. I'm going, how? You guys not have any mindfulness of the family? They're outside vans, freaking umbrellas, tents outside, trying to paint a story of something sinister had happened when it wasn't. It was actually something really sad. It was a medical event that had nothing to do with any foul play, but they just blasted it all over media. And I was like, they just died this morning and they're already parked outside their house.
Well, that's adopting the American kind of mindset. They're like,
Yeah.
you gotta have the news first.
Yeah, so someone must have posted it on their Facebook, and then they must have shared it, so and so and so and so, and then someone in the media must have picked it up and go, "Oh, where's this?" But yeah, what do they call that? Guerrilla tactics.
Guerrilla.
It's a guerrilla mindset.
But that was like, it's the competition.
Yeah. First in.
The first thing, one of the reasons why I think is because of advertising's gone from mainstream media.
Yeah.
Now, advertising's gone towards Facebook and social media platforms.
Yeah.
Because of the data collecting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't get the information when you just put an ad on TV or an ad on the newspaper,
Yeah.
So all that money, revenue from ads are gone.
Yeah. So these scripts that are written into some Facebook pages, especially the media ones, when you like a comment, they get access to your information.
Yeah.
And then you get things like, and you know what I mean, all the insights and stuff like that. It blows my mind how it was a friend of mine that's in the world of the internet and stuff like that. And he goes, this is how you do it. So he took me to a page of his that he created and goes, just go like the post. I clicked like. On the other end of his computer, he was getting my full profile. I'm like, what? This person posts this. So this soft thing was scanning my Facebook page, and it gave him patterns, how often I posted, what type of reactions I would give, and that was separate to the interaction, the insights. This is a normal Facebook page. This is not a public page, I'm going, holy heck, that's how easy our information is accessible. Because bro, yes.
Because you know how fast those ads come up when you already clicked on something?
Yeah.
And then they show up on your social media platform.
You know what I find annoying right now is that I pay money for premium service on Spotify so that I don't listen to ads. And now when I listen to a podcaster that I enjoy, they weave their ads into their podcast. I'm like,
they're going to do it now with Joe Rogan. I think he signed a new deal. 250 mil for another 3 years.
Man.
But his stuff's going to be non-exclusive now.
It's really annoying. It's like, before we continue with our story, let's give a word to our sponsors. And I'm like, I paid money for me not to listen to ads. And now I have to listen to an ad.
Well, I think podcast is going to be an exception. Because they need to make money, the actual podcast. Though.
Yeah. What do you put on YouTube channel? Like, I listen to the guy on YouTube, and I've got a subscription there. Well, it's a free trial at the moment. And it's the same thing. I'm like, okay, cool. This thing is no ads, and then 10 minutes into the documentary. Before we continue, make sure to click subscribe, and we get a word from our sponsor. And I'm trying to do the dishes, and I'm like, the whole point of an ad-free thing was to listen to it seamlessly.
Yeah.
They go fast forward.
So Joe, what's happening with you and your podcast? Are you gonna carry it on, or have you got ideas of how to do it, or are you still gonna do it?
Yeah,
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh man, it's the whole procrastination thing and the whole prioritizing of it, of getting it done. I do want to continue with it, but it's getting myself to a level of commitment of sitting down and just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a good talker, and I was impressed with how you can just talk to yourself.
Well, thank you.
And because that, man, you know what? I tried to do it, a solo podcast.
Yeah.
I stuffed up how many times. I can't do it, man. It's hard. It's really hard.
There's a cheat from that. I learned that from radio.
Oh yeah. What was it?
Because in radio you're actually talking to yourself.
Yeah.
I
can't do that. I couldn't do it. I tried. I tried many times.
Yeah.
I even wrote things down, and I still fucked up. And You know, it's really hard. I couldn't because there was heaps of gaps. So I was thinking about, I can't have that much gap.
You edit them out, bro. You edit the gaps out.
Oh, I don't do that. I just want to flow like normal. But
Yeah.
you know, I prefer talking to people.
Yeah.
But when you're by yourself, it's a different beast. But
Yeah.
when I heard your podcast, it was like 30 minutes of you talking all these ideas, and I was impressed about you just did it.
Aw,
You know,
too kind, brother.
like I want to do that. I want to do that.
It's just like, oh man, I need to talk to myself more like Joseph does. Wake up in the morning, talk to myself. I don't know. It's thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's I think I just talk heaps. That's why it's so easy. But no, it's a radio cheat.
Yeah. Just to cut the gaps.
Yeah, and because you just kind of get used to even emceeing. You learn now. People see MCs on stage and they think, oh, they're talking to us. No, they're not. They're looking at the back of the wall.
Because you know all your ideas. Did you have them in front of you, written down like in bullet points, and just talk about each bullet point as you go? Or
Yeah. So oh yeah, I learned the hard way. You should see the other stuff. I'll unlock them in the next couple of days, and you'll hear the difference between deliberate preparation versus winging it. And so that particular one, it took me about a week. Look at a week. The actual audio was about an hour long, but I pieced it and I cut it right down to kind of the key points that I wanted to talk about. And that came from, just from reading stuff from like John C. Maxwell and Les Brown and how to be a bit more specific. So if that's why I messaged you. I'm like, that's actually one of the rules that John C. Maxwell says. If you're going to go on a show, send them these questions, like, so you know what you want to talk about and that you're always adding value to it.
Oh, nah. Check that out the window in there.
Yeah. So like, bro, that one went on. I re-recorded that podcast maybe 5-6 times in one night.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I wouldn't have known that.
I was trying to structure it.
Oh, okay.
And then I went, hang on a minute. Went back over my notes. Which of these topics that I want to talk about that I know naturally,
right?
Remove the rest. And then that's what made it easier. So I stuck within that structure. And then went back and edit the
What kind of mic do you use?
It's a Rode 2 something.
Oh, okay. So it's a dynamic. It only picks up in front of you.
Yeah. But I got some other USB one. I spent like $200 on it. Waste of money. So tingy, crackly. And then I looked it up and I saw the reviews and I'm like, I just got duped.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking like, so for your content and that, like, is it just going to be about your experiences as a Pacific Islander growing up in New Zealand and different topics around that every episode?
My podcast would be things through my perspective and understanding two sides of the coin. So that's what I want to deliver with the content. And if I remember from that particular podcast, I would talk about certain issues with my mum and dad, and then I would explain why they were the way they were, which I find is missing with a lot of our Pacifica content around that area. This is through Joe's perspective. I then go away and do some proper research and make sure that I'm reading over the food and taking it in. And by the time I deliver it to the audience, it's now second nature.
Yeah. So looking forward ahead, would it be like weekly?
I want it to be weekly.
Like if it was weekly, like if for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
So how would the content change? So because there's going to be multiple, right?
Yeah.
Like would it be a commentary, what's going on?
It would
current events?
Yeah, it would be. I'll be riding the wave of what's currently hot on the different platforms. And then just offering perspective. Like my first podcast was supposed to be about Kanye West.
Right.
Because everyone called him an idiot.
Yeah.
So he's a bit of a weirdo. Jay-Z said the exact same thing that Kanye West said about the Grammys being rigged.
Right.
The difference was, this is why people call him crazy, is because of the method. Kanye was rude. He interjected.
Tay.
It was real bratty, whereas Jay-Z was he used his moment and spoke eloquently rather than interrupt it. But yeah, so that's. I told myself ages ago, do one every week, and then and be able to make sure that I prepare. There's a book now, I can't remember what it's called, bro. The 16 something laws of communication or something. But the chapter that I'm on at the moment is about preparation. So if I'm going to talk on a topic, then I'm going to at least spend at least 4 or 5 hours of reading.
Right. Yeah. Do you read or do you use audiobooks? Do you do audiobooks or do you read?
I prefer reading.
Yeah, I prefer reading too.
I prefer when reading because I can stop and highlight things that stand out and have a bit more control over it. And I don't. Oh man, Audible kind of annoys me because it's so AI. No, chapter 1 in the beginning, and I'm like, oh, that irritates me. So I'd rather have a quiet moment and read the book.
I prefer reading.
Yeah.
Because I like looking at the words.
Yeah.
But time has forced me to do audiobooks instead.
Yeah.
I hate it, but I've got no time to read anymore. Like, it's convenient for me to audiobook because I listen to it in the car. I can get through a book in a week.
Yeah. You know what? I'm trying this method out at the moment, where I read for 15 minutes, or I read one particular chapter that just focuses on one topic, and that chapter. So John C. Maxwell is really amazing at writing mini big books. That sounds weird, eh? So we're used to one chapter being about 40 pages. His chapter is like 2. But it's so deliberate with everything. And this guy was telling me, just read that one chapter and then regurgitate that stuff, go over it again, and then rehash what you've learnt from that one little chapter. And I realized, oh, I learned so much. So I turned like a 5-paragraph chapter into like 15, 20.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm the same, bro. Like,
well, they say to read books twice, just especially books like that, just to get the gist again.
Well, the first time around is to enjoy it.
Yeah.
The second time is to now study it.
Yeah, get into it there.
Yeah. But no, I can appreciate the whole listening to it. I find listening to be a heck of a lot better because you can what do you call it? You can stack it, eh? You're in the middle of something and you stack the podcast on top of it. You can listen to it rather than, you're doing your designs and you're reading the book and next thing you know, you remove the centimeters and you put C4.
Yeah.
Or C4 chapter 5.
Well, I was putting it off. I was putting audiobooks off for ages because I didn't want it to interrupt the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I had the podcasts I listened to.
Yeah.
Obviously, and then I didn't want the audiobook to interrupt it.
Yeah.
I'd rather read.
Yeah.
But then the time factor came in. Just audiobook it. Even though I like reading it. But I heard that if you buy Kindle and the audiobook is cheaper, you can read plus here.
Bro, I'm one of those guys where I will surf the internet and I can find an alternative, the same version, without necessarily having to enter my card details per se.
Oh yeah. YouTube's good for. YouTube's got some audiobooks.
There's so many libraries online, and whereas I kind of look and I go, I'll look at the different channels. Do you know the different Amazon pages? You'd find this. There was one book that I was told to buy. It was $35 on this one particular platform.
Yeah.
Then I went to Amazon and it was $14. I'm like, I'm insulted. So I went to my mate who deals with a lot of audiobooks and and what do you call it, the Kindle books and the PDF stuff.
Yeah.
And I go, do you have this book? She goes, oh yeah, it's in my library. He goes, can you send it? She goes, yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, easy.
But I'll still pay for it. I don't like paying for online stuff. I prefer to actually go to the store and buy the hard copy. It's an experience for me too. Like, I purchased this book, the feeling of it in my hands, the smell of it, and then knowing that I'm going to be tucked away in my bed.
Yeah,
reading it.
I'm struggling to find a new book to read. There haven't been any particular book that interests me. But man, when I first started reading, when I really got into it, man, I bought heaps of books, man. Like,
have you ever heard of a book called "What I Say When I Talk to Myself"?
No.
What I Say When I Talk to Myself. I can't remember who authors it, but there's only one book that's online. I'll send you the name when I get home. But that's an amazing book. It talks about programming, the stuff that we spoke about earlier.
Oh.
Yeah, and it just breaks it down. For me anyway, it's like breaks it down for dummies like me so I can understand
what
self-talk is and what pre-programmed things are in the human mind
What comes to mind right now is that word normalized.
Yeah.
Normalizing. Because you can normalize anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one says it's good or bad, but it's just normalized.
Yeah.
But because it's normalized, you probably don't know if it's good or bad because you never see another perspective of it, right?
Yeah.
Like how we were talking about how our culture not talking back.
Yeah.
And that's normalized
Mm.
for us.
Yeah. You can see with the Indian culture, a lot of the videos, it was a lot of the music videos and movies you never saw the characters kissing or being sexual in any way in their music videos. Now it's slowly being normalized where the Indian content is being Americanized.
Because normalized can be used against you.
No. Can be.
Like, you know, when PC stuff, when they say normalized all the time, we should normalize this, we should normalize that, we should normalize. Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's what are we normalizing? Is it really good for
who
us?
made you
Yeah.
the authority of normalizing that? Like, have you looked at every other angle?
That's it,
on why that shouldn't be all normalized?
and that's why we need to. That's why we need to check all these different groups that are coming up with all these different arguments. You know, we had the whole gender thing that was going around for a while, the whole binary stuff and that, and it impacted. So you know the whole. Do you know how the whole movement around gender? Disney went so hard into it that they lost nearly 60% of their stock.
Yeah,
for a small group of people.
You saw it in all their movies. And people got sick of it.
Yeah, so they lost nearly 60% of their stock. That's why Disney now is cutting back on so much content because they can't afford it anymore. And Apple's just hovering on top going, just say when we'll buy you out.
Well, Star Wars was the big, obvious one. When Star Wars, they ruined Star Wars of that shit.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, even the whole Marvel series, a lot of dedicated fans came out. I was part of that petition. It was like, don't touch our favorite characters. You know, honor them for what they are. And if you want a character that represents a certain group or gender, then while we already had different heroes that represented ethnic groups, you know, you had them, you know, Miss Marvel, the young Muslim girl, you know, with her superpowers. And then you've got Wakanda, you know, representing the African community. And there's so more. You got Morph, who was Chinese. You know, people don't realize that Deadpool and Wolverine are Canadian. Like, people don't realize that stuff. And then, if you want to create a character that is specific to a certain group, then create one. But don't touch the...
Don't make Idris Elba the next James Bond. Like, create a new black James Bond. Like, don't make something else. Hey,
yeah, like give him a different character altogether. Make him or find a way to merge James Bond with what do you call it, with the Kingsman. Make Idris come from there. Well,
Kingsman is an example of making another character, right?
Yeah. Well, it's based on a book, but yeah. You're creating a completely.
But you don't have to put him in the the what's his name, the Marcellus, the Black Spider-Man. What's his name? What's his name?
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales.
Yeah. So
but that was a comic book, but still, there's doing the PC stuff there.
Yeah, but Miles Morales has been around for years, bro. He was invented ages ago.
But he wasn't a Spider-Man, was he? Or was he?
Yeah, he was in an alternate universe.
Oh,
that was part of the whole Spider-Verse. So a lot of fans don't know that the Spider-Verse goes back some 30, 40 years. It's old. But a lot of those Spider-Verse Spider-Men, they were just normal guys.
Because I knew the Spider-Ham.
Yeah.
Peter Parker.
Yeah, Peter Parker, yeah.
Spider-Ham.
Yeah, there's so many different...
I remember that one.
Yeah. And so these, I mean, I'm all for supporting the different community groups, but it's like, if you really want to have pride in yourselves, then get someone within your community who has the wealth or has the artistic ability and story ability to create one. That's what you should do. One that's unique to your people. Invent them. Create them.
Don't know if you saw that Taika Waititi video when he's talking about diversity in film.
I 100% agree with him.
That was a mean video,
I 100% agree with him.
That was mean, eh?
Yeah,
what he said.
If I was to write my own movie about my own personal life, I'm not going to go fit in all these different people that were never there. So don't come at me if I create a movie about my personal upbringing with witnesses and then get angry because I haven't included your group. It's not that I'm not excluding you. That's why I agree with Taika Waititi. I didn't have those people growing up.
I like when he said, I don't know why you want to make a movie and put a Polynesian person in there when it doesn't make sense to have a Polynesian person in that particular film, you know?
Exactly.
But he compared that to Succession because it did well with the awards and that and the numbers. And there's a story about a whole bunch of rich white people. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to see. Some truth.
Some truth. what the actual story was about. Not add all these different little...
But man, and then you know what funny? A few weeks later, I watched they did a TV show on Greece. Yeah, like with did you see that? There's a TV show about Greece, but not Greece. It was in the same universe. I think it was about the what's the girls, the pink ladies? Was it the pink? Yeah, it was about them.
I can't remember the name, but yeah.
Yeah, it's about them. Yeah. But it's the same universe.
I know the boys were the T-Birds or something.
Yeah, T-Birds. Yeah. So it's around that, right? Yeah. The first episode, right? Because my missus, she's into Greece and all that. So she was excited when they put out this new TV show. Watch the first episode. And the whole first bit is a dance scene, right? Dance scene at a drive-in movie theater. Yeah. Of the shop where the kids go with the the jackets and the A and all that, and get the popcorn, go with the girls with the skirts. There was every single ethnicity in that dance scene. There was a Chinese, there was an Indian, there was a black, there was white, there was every
If it was a stage theater, it makes perfect sense.
I was like, what the hell?
But if you're gonna create a movie based on a certain era within a certain town, then you want to be as specific as to what the era was going through, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't care there's no Samoan in there. That's fine. I still love the show.
But didn't make sense.
But my feelings are hurt. There's no one from Vailoa Alepaka in there. Put him in there now.
But see, that spoke to what Taika was talking about. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. You know?
Especially when they were like, I'm thinking about that particular scene and I'm going, I don't remember that era having Tahitian people here. I don't remember Korean people being there.
Exactly.
But I get it. It's because we're pandering to groups that feel left out, and it comes back to something that I'm trying my best to learn recently. Is we have a lot of people who, instead of doing the hard work themselves and creating some level of accountability, they'll blame somebody else. I feel left out because Marvel and DC didn't make their character this and that. So you're not left out. Be the founding member of someone who invented a brand new list of superheroes. Like I encourage that.
But then they're not going to do that unless they give us the power to do that. They tell us, okay, we want you to make it.
Oh man, you can create a comic book online now. There's so many artists who create amazing content and who are from those communities, but they don't get supported. And so I'm going, I don't understand. It's like you got members within your community that would really appreciate your support, but you're not getting behind them.
Especially with Polynesians, with movie making, especially in this country, because you never know how much control the white person has on our stories, And it's kind of like, oh man, you can kind of see when we see our stuff on TV, and some of the dry jokes, and that's not a island joke.
Oh, bro, even some of the island movies that have come out in New Zealand, I've watched them and I've cringed.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's not even who we are. You've sold an urban version. You put stereotypes from New Zealand-born islanders and applied it to a traditional format.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to me, it's like ticking boxes stuff. Ticking boxes stuff. Yeah. And to me, that just makes me think, man, they really don't care about us. They just want to please, the world by, being, we're part of this new society now, kind of thing. But it's not right, man. Yeah. It's not right. It's sort of like invasion kind of thing. Like
it's a lot of like when I look at, I appreciate the hard work that went into it. I don't want to knock anybody's craft, but there's so many elements to that I find challenging. Is I look at some of this content that comes out and I'm like, oh, cool, it's the same guys again. It's a similar comedy, and it sounds very bro-towny. Excuse me, guys. I struggled with that show. We're working so hard to remove a label. Oh, you coconut comes out. And I'm like, oh.
Well, you should watch American Fiction.
He's a Maori.
Have you seen?
Like, oh man.
You should watch that movie, American Fiction.
Yeah.
That Jeffrey Wright movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
That just came out. You should watch it. It's about this black author, and he
Yeah.
writes books. He writes literature that doesn't get like bestsellers and all that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make money,
Yeah.
but its stories. It's not about black people.
Yeah.
The books he writes, you know, I don't know what it's about, but it seems like it's not about black people.
Yeah.
But these new authors, he gets invited to like a book signing thing,
Yeah.
but there's only about 3 people in the crowd coming to him.
Yeah.
But next door, there's another black woman author, and it's packed.
Yeah.
And she reads a part of her book, and she's saying the slang,
Yeah.
street slang,
Yeah.
like "my mom is this," blah
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
and it's like a gangster kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all the barangis in the room going, "Oh," like, you know, and he's there watching, like, what the fuck, like, what's this? What is this crap?
Sounds very 8 Miley.
You know,
In such way as a halfway crook.
you know, it's that kind of language,
Yeah.
right? And she's got a bestseller,
Yeah.
you know, but he's disgusted because he's thinking, "Fuck, we're trying to be past all that kind of stuff."
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
So that's his mentality. Anyway, as a joke,
Yeah.
he decides to write a book like that,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want to put his name on it. He puts a
Yeah.
fake name,
Yeah.
and he makes himself like a ex-con
Yeah.
that's written this book. And he as a joke,
Yeah.
like he's pissed off at what he saw. He decides to do this as a joke.
Yeah.
Gives it to his publisher, and then his publisher, "Oh man, that's not kind of your stuff."
Yeah.
And then, "I don't care. I just want to
Make what sells.
just make what sells. Like, just do it. See what happens."
Yeah.
Okay. And he goes out, gives and then they pick it up. Some white publishing pick it up, and they love it. And they tell him, and he's like, "Really? Are you
We love
serious?
what you're doing here.
Are you serious?" So, but now they want to meet him in prison. Now he has to act like he's a gangster, like
You see?
straight out of prison.
Yeah.
So he does this, and and like his book becomes a bestseller and all that.
Yeah.
And he really hates it. He really hates it. And then he decides to stop it,
Yeah.
right? So he doesn't want any more of this, right? He wants to stop it. He wants to stop the how it's coming up in the Times bestseller list and all
Yeah.
that.
Stop producing it. And
Yeah. So he decides to tell the publishers, "I want to change the name."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I don't think you should. Like, it's good how
It's
it
a
is."
winning
Like,
formula. Yeah.
yeah. So, and now I want to change the name. Otherwise, no deal. He goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay. What name do you want?" And he goes, "I want it to be called Fuck." And they're like, I don't think that is well. Nah, if you don't want to, I don't want it to be called Fuck. Otherwise, no deal.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't. He wants to end it. And then they come around. They say, "You know what? It's raw. We love it. We're gonna do it." And he's like, "Are you serious? Are you serious?" But you know, it's like the gatekeepers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever's trending in society, like with
Yeah.
this whole diversity shit,
Yeah.
like the white people are always the ones that are gonna let things come or
Yeah.
go, and unless you're not talking about the narrative they want,
Yeah. If you're not pandering to that
yeah,
specific niche,
yeah,
because generally it is them you're marketing to, really, if you think about it. So I can't remember which island movie it was, which showed the Samoan guy sleeping in the fale when he went there. And I'm going, I guarantee you, if most of us Kiwis go back home, we are not going to be sleeping in the fale, or we're going to be sleeping in our house.
mm.
No one's going to pick you up and carry you in the middle of the night because you're not going to sleep that deep.
Was that the Free Wise Cousin?
I think so, yeah,
Free
yeah.
Wise Cousin, yeah.
There was so much stuff in there that I was cringing, and I'm like, that doesn't even happen back home. Why are you selling that narrative? But I get it. It's a creative interpretation of what the writers perceived to be. That's what it is. Because the message wasn't really about Samoan culture. It was about a boy coming to the conclusion that, you know, he's been protected. He's basically needs to be grateful.
Mm.
But yeah, bro. But it doesn't appeal to a lot of us. I don't know, maybe people like me who are thinking like, I don't associate with that. But it sells to the certain other audiences that like it.
Well, we can't make anything unless it's got backing, right? Financial backing. We just don't have any financial backing, you know. And the backers are white, and the backers will go, okay, we need to put our flavor in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think bro, there are a lot of Pacifica and Maori people who've got the money to back us, to back that industry. But then I kind of wonder, why aren't they investing?
They're not interested in the
You know?
movie business, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I'd like to know, how many of our people out there that are in the investing space for things that to thrive. But it's like, do we really need a white rich person to have that funding? No. We can have our own people do it, and it shouldn't be an issue. I guess it's something where I hope to be a millionaire one day, is to just just make the movie as true as possible. Don't add any stereotypes in it to sell. Just make a proper, decent movie.
Well, what's that Blair Witch Project? What, only 50 grand to make or something like that?
Hey, are you that young, bro?
80 grand to make? Well, then what makes millions after that?
I had nightmares after that movie came out. I actually thought it was real.
But a good example of what we're talking about that actually worked was with that movie Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
John Singleton. That's all him.
Yeah.
And that's his experience growing up in South Central LA,
It's through his point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Universal Pictures took a risk getting the student. He was a student at the time.
That's right, yeah.
Take a script and make it into a movie.
Didn't he sell the rights to it and then he got it back?
Probably, I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
he went through. Nobody believed
no,
in it.
he said you can only buy it off me if I direct it. That was the deal.
That's what it was,
Yeah.
And there was a huge gamble because this nobody wants to direct a movie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he just came out of film. Oh, he must be still in film. Oh, just came out. But that gamble paid off, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's a perspective of something real. Someone took a chance on. Yeah. And that's what we need. People like that to take a chance on us to create something. Yeah. Make something.
Yeah. I guess I'm one of those cringy people it needs to be authentic. There was a movie about the Samoans is the Samoans on a soccer team?
Oh yeah, the last goal wins.
Yeah. And I'm listening to the guy playing the coach and I'm like, that's not even a proper fob accent. The amount of uncles that I grew up with don't talk like that. That's a New Zealand born boy putting on such small things, but I look at it and I go,
yeah.
But I get it. But it's perspective, stereotypes. Yeah.
What does authentic mean to you? Like in terms of what you want to do in your podcast? Because it's so like imagine you're gonna do this for the rest of your life, episode every week.
Yeah.
Like what's authentic during that long span of time you're gonna do it?
Be honest with just being honest with myself and my point of view, and having the humility to. I guess an element I want to bring to my audience is the humility to accept that if in case I've said something wrong, not like in a sense if I've misquoted factual data, then have the humility to come back and say, okay, I got this part wrong. But being authentic means that I'm not going to follow anyone else's trend. I don't know if you can relate to it, but I just find I can tell when I'm listening to someone and they're not being authentic. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
And it's it'd be a good laugh for those who are listening if this part's in the podcast when we're in certain church environments. Hey, how are you? It's great to see you. Hey, get your cup of coffee. Settle on. It's going to be a great message and enjoy the praise and worship. So blessed to have you here, Joseph. And hey, it's a great day. That to me, I'm like,
nah,
that's not authentic. I know it's an act. So that being able to recognize, and you see it in so many different levels. And I do hear content online, and I can hear kind of like in the first kind of 10, 15 seconds, and then I switch because I can tell the person is following someone else's tonality, presentation, and I feel sad because I only struggle to listen to it because I can tell that they have a more authentic voice, but they're hiding it because for whatever fear of people not appreciating them. And there was one channel that I was following. He had a very thick Indian accent and he was doing horror videos. Bro, he was getting hammered on the comments.
For his accent?
For the accent, because nobody understands you. And then he changed it to, it was a real weird kind of English accent. And bro, it just annoyed me. And I was like, that's not you. It's not you. Now I can't listen to you anymore because I actually like the Indian accent. I like listening to it because there are certain tonations that I've learnt through friends that I resonate with and goes, oh yeah, I get what he means. and then to change. Yeah. So for me, being authentic is being real to who I am, And what I mean by that is that I might say some things that'll make you go, actually, this guy's out the gate. It's like, no, it's just me being human. I'm not going to put on an act and be perfect for you just to fit your social media narrative. And it's to offer perspective that as best as I can, recognize all the different points of view. Because my goal is not to... My goal is to educate and bridge people. Yeah. That's always been, that's my goal at the moment, is bridge people. I really want our parents, bro, and our generation, and the ones that are coming, to have a really strong connection, to understand where we're coming from, and because it gives you that different level of confidence. And an example of that is my nephew in Australia. He was shielded from all the stuff that went on, the history of our people, the bloodline, and then I shared it with him. We were told, don't tell the kids that because it could traumatize them. The history of our family, who we come from, who our lineage, our ancestors are. And I shared it with one particular nephew, and he came back. He's like, Uncle, I've been reading it up. I've been researching it. I'm so pumped. I'm so fired up. I now know who my ancestors are. Now I know
Gives
what
you strength.
Yeah. I goes, I now know how Mama was so resilient. Now I know how Dad was so, Papa was resilient. It inspires me. Because I made sure that, when I share I have to make sure that when I share with my younger ones, that through my learning, that I'm not giving them the trauma. I'm giving them information. This is what we went through. This is what we survived through. And that resilient, unbreakable spirit has been transferred onto you. So if anything comes in your way, go back to the stories of your ancestors. Yeah.
Well, that's mean. That's mean, man. That's mean. Finding stories from the past to better the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And try our best to not go down the trauma pathway. I know I'm pretty bad for that. They did this to me. But yeah, that's okay. Just don't live there.
I think personally, hearing you and your authentic self and what you want to do, personally, I think man, I for myself, when I'm talking on podcasts like Empty Out the Clip, we do, because we talk about current events and that.
Yeah.
Man, I'm over the warning stuff. I'm over. No, I don't warn anything.
Yeah.
I don't see the point, because there's too much warnings out there. Why do you need another warning from me?
Yeah.
And if I say something wrong, I don't give a fuck. Go look it up yourself. Don't tell me. I'm just speaking.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking my mind.
Yeah.
And it sort of gives me some kind of empowerment.
Yeah.
To just to be strong on what I say. Of course, if I find new information that I'm wrong, of course I'm gonna I was wrong.
That's growth.
But I'm not gonna acknowledge it. I'm not gonna say, oh, sorry, 2 episodes back I said something that was wrong, and this is what I said. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna go for that. I'm not TV3 News. I'm not TVNZ. I'm not an encyclopedia, and people shouldn't look at podcasts like me as an encyclopedia. There's ways to get information.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me for what you want to listen to me for, not for the facts and that. Of course I'm gonna get things wrong.
Yeah.
Not just when I listen to you talk about how if I get things wrong, I'm gonna say. And plus, it's one of my pet peeves when I listen to other podcasts. People always warn. There's a warning. I'm gonna say something that's just say it, man.
The only time where I would say that there's a warning for me is if I'm gonna talk on a topic like suicide, then I would say on that content. But yeah, I hear you, man. On so many podcasts, viewer discretion.
Yeah.
Listener discretion. This podcast contains some serious content that may be offensive. If that sounds like you, please find another.
Well, what's a podcast? You can say whatever you want. That stuff's on mainstream media. That's on TV. There's a reason why they say that, because they can't say that. Yeah. But we can.
Yeah.
And I think podcasts need to stick to that, their freedom.
Yeah, it's and try our best to avoid to stay away from controlling factors that try to dictate how we should be. I'd be more than happy to share my perspective on something, and that's just my perspective. that doesn't make me right. It's just a perspective, and I think listeners need to pay attention to that and be attentive to it. He's just sharing his perspective. I'm not attacking you. I'm not saying anything negative about you. This is just my perspective. And if I go and if I've missed something, or because there's only so much time that you can communicate a message.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's not your job to make sure everyone's happy. You know,
and someone's always gonna take it in a different way, and I'm guilty of this all the time. I'll read something, or I get a message, or I've said something to my mentors because I'm freaking out about something, and then they come back and their response is completely different. I'm like, oh, okay, actually I got that completely wrong. But you know, it's
like a text when you send someone a message in text, right?
Key and Peele.
You know, you send someone a message in text. There's no tone.
There's no tone.
There's no like emotion. There's just words, and people. Is he angry? Is that angry?
You know what? How
there's no LOL at the end.
You know, some of my texts now, bro. Even with the letters that I write or emails that I write, it's like I couldn't like I did risk management for a company once, and how you write your letters, you have to be very deliberate with the words that you say. So, if I'm gonna be honest with one of my good mates, I was like, "Hey, bro, I hope I got you in a good time. I thought I'd just share this with you, and I just hope that you understand my heart and what I'm gonna say. I swear to you, I'm not angry, but I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on this issue. I've just noticed something, and can you spend a couple of minutes, bro? Like, can we just talk about it?
See,
like, you have to like.
But we don't have to do that, man. That's too much work.
Where's some of my other brothers will be like, bro? He goes, can I talk to you, bro? He goes, what about? Because the other day you said this, I'm pretty upset about it. They're like, oh, bro, that's no, you've misunderstood me. What I actually meant was like, oh, and I'm going, oh, shame. Yeah, bro, I've gotten things wrong so many times, but. And with the stuff that I'm going to be bringing out, like, it's important for me that if I've gotten some information wrong, it just gives me more content to create. If I do an updated version of a certain topic, then I would say, I've come to understand and learn that this information is this. But to go on and apologize to people every time, sit there and reply to all the comments, I'm like, knowing how toxic people can be. No, I'm good. You know what? Just disable comments. Upload disable comments. I'd rather get a copyright infringement than a word infringement for saying something wrong.
Joe, man, also, man, we did 3 hours.
It's a long time we've been here. So many pathways we went down. Oh, so it's 10 o'clock.
Man, I'm looking forward to your podcast when it comes out, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, hurry up, man. I need some content to listen to, But thanks for coming on my podcast, man. Back on Review 5.
Thank you. That's such a big deal. Like, I do follow your content, and I quite appreciate your show, and seeing Will was on, and I'm like, this guy's got some amazing stuff. And I'll be honest, I look at your studio, I'm like, man, I want that. And Will's like, just start with what you have.
Build on it. Yeah.
Because you don't need all of that to start a podcast. Just does your laptop have a camera? Yep. Solved.
Now, this stuff you see now, this is like the 3rd upgrade.
Yeah.
Because we started real simple.
Yeah.
Back in 2019.
Yeah.
And just upgraded slowly. It didn't go straight to the expensive stuff. Like, gradually.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm trying to adapt to because the setup I have at home is for voice acting. So I get irritated when I do like,
oh. Yeah.
Whereas voice acting, I have it in a little corner where it's blocked off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because, we make sure that I'm yelling out lines properly.
Yeah. Okay, tell everyone where they can find your podcast.
Bro, what is the name of my podcast? I can't remember. I think it's under Joseph Paulo on Spotify. You can find me on Facebook, Joe Paulo's blog. I just write random stuff. And you can find me on Instagram under SwitchmanNZ, or TikTok, SwitchmanNZ. Find my lovely quotes, and I do a couple of silly things on there. But and we can see all my other content as well. So not just regular podcast. Every now and then I'll post up some stuff that I'm doing in the background. There's some other work coming up soon. I'm going to be voicing another game character. So I want that to come. There's one on TikTok called forgetting the name. Kahuturoa from Path of Exile. So I've got an opportunity to record some more characters. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, I write random stuff, talk about random stuff, and it's just perspective. But yeah, Spotify, Facebook. Do not look for me on Twitter. It's not worth your time.
Nice, Joe. Hope you can come back, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, bro.
No, likewise.